The hero of our story is the strongest sage who saved mankind from the invasion of monsters and their king. But exhausted by the deadly battle, he died. Fortunately for him, this is not the end. He is reborn in the body of a boy 50 years later and enters the Academy of Magic to become the strongest again. Will he succeed? Let's find out. Atsumu wakes up, shocked to find he's alive despite using all his magic. He questions the situation and doesn't believe he's still alive. Looking at himself in the mirror, he's shocked by his new appearance. A doctor enters the room along with a nurse. She addresses our boy as Kusanagi, and he becomes more confused as he hears the unfamiliar name. The doctor asks him to lay down and tries checking his injuries. He removes the bandages and is surprised to find that the protagonist has been healed completely. He is unable to believe what he's seeing. The doctor remembers he was in horrible condition just the other day after a traffic accident and losing consciousness. He wonders how the boy has already healed so quickly. The doctor thinks it's like being healed by holy magic. Kusanagi is confused to learn about the traffic accident and reveals that his body can automatically heal itself using holy magic powers. He asks the doctors if his magic power has run out, but they don't understand what he's trying to say. He tells them he was in the middle of fighting monsters during the calamity. The doctor and nurse both get shocked by his words. The doctor asks the boy if he still remembers his name and the year it is right now. Ichikami states his name and believes it is still 1970, but the doctor assumes he is experiencing a sequela and calls it a memory impairment issue. The doctor informs the boy that his real name is Kusanagi Minato, and the current year is 2022. Kusanagi becomes confused, and it's hard for him to believe all of this. He looks at the doctor and assumes the guy is telling the truth. He notices a TV and wonders how it is so thin and has such a clean image as well. The protagonist finds a calendar and confirms it really is 2022. He is shocked to see a thin device in the nurse's hands. Our boy becomes confused and starts wondering if he really is in the future. The doctor reveals some information about the calamity our boy mentioned. He remembers it happened 50 years ago, but never happened again since. The protagonist is unable to believe his words and questions what happened to all the monsters. The doctor calls it a peaceful era and reveals that there are barely any monsters now. Kusanagi finds out the world has finally achieved true peace and becomes relieved. He thanks God and starts smiling. The doctor tells him that Ichikami, the person he is talking about, died in the calamity 50 years ago. He is considered a hero who sacrificed his own life to save the world. The doctor doesn't believe Kusanagi is Ichikami Atsumu. Our boy assumes he died 50 years ago and somehow was able to reincarnate into Kusanagi Minato. He does not understand how this happened, and as a week passes by, he finally enters his apartment and checks out Kusanagi's room. He feels sad as he learns about the old Kusanagi's life. His parents passed away when he was just a little kid. He also got kicked out by his new foster parents and was sent to a shitty boarding school. Ever since all this happened, Kusanagi has been surviving using his parents' inheritance. The protagonist has never heard of something known as reincarnation magic. He wonders if the reincarnation he is experiencing is the work of a god. Maybe it all happened randomly. He looks at Kusanagi's Magic Academy card and remembers that back in his days, there was no such thing as a Magic Academy. He finds it interesting. All of a sudden, his phone starts ringing. He wonders what it is and picks up his phone. He sees someone named Tadano calling him, but doesn't understand what he should do. Kusanagi decides to ignore it and throws away his phone. It keeps ringing, and a message pops up. Tadano says he knows our boy got discharged from the hospital and requests Kusanagi to come back to school already as he is running out of money. The next day, our boy attends the Magic Academy, and as he enters the school, he starts looking around. He finds it exciting to be attending school again as an adult. As he is enjoying the moment, he notices a random student use his magic abilities to attack a dummy doll. Kusanagi becomes disappointed to see the scene and wonders why everyone has such weak magic powers. He observes more students and realizes all of them are complete crap. It's hard for him to believe. He remembers even the newbies from his time were 10 times stronger than these pathetic students. He doubts they will ever succeed as magicians, and even though it is a peaceful era, he doesn't understand why magic declined to such an extent. He enters his classroom and finds his chair. He starts feeling excited about his academic life and wonders if he has any friends in the classroom. Suddenly, a red-haired student appears with 2 more kids. He questions why our boy ignored his texts, even though he is just Kusanagi. The protagonist doesn't recognize the guy, so he politely asks his name. Tadano becomes angry and kicks the table as he states his name again. He calls Kusanagi weak and a piece of trash, but our boy doesn't take him seriously. He suddenly remembers it's the guy who was calling him. He assumes Tadano is his friend. Tadano smiles wickedly and pulls out his hand, asking for money. Kusanagi assumes he's a good friend and holds his hand passionately, hoping they can get along well. Tadano becomes angry and grabs him by his collar while demanding money. He tries to scare Kusanagi and believes he has a lot left from his parents' inheritance. Kusanagi finally understands the situation and finds out that his old self was being bullied. Tadano tries to throw a punch to put our boy in his place, but out of nowhere, a blue-haired girl with a beautiful face enters the classroom. She wishes everyone a good morning. Her pretty smile calms down Tadano. He decides to let our boy go but makes it clear that he is expecting money from him later. Kusanagi becomes annoyed, but the bully finally leaves the classroom. The class finally begins, and the teacher starts talking about the Great Calamity, also known as the Final Calamity. 50 years ago, monsters appeared all across the world, and humanity despaired because of them. But the great sage known as Ichikami Atsumu remained determined to save humanity. He never gave up and destroyed all the monsters by himself. He finally confronted the demon god known as the Calamity Boss, the reason behind the whole phenomenon. Ichikami risked his own life to defeat the final boss, and ever since that day, Calamity has never returned. The teacher starts asking the students about the great sage. The blue-haired girl from earlier raises her hand. Her name is Mizuha. The teacher gives her permission to answer the question. She says Ichikami is the great sage and the first ever magician who survived the first calamity. He is also behind the reason their academy was built. Her eyes start sparkling with excitement as she shares that Ichikami is the hero of humanity, the idol of every magician across the world. The teacher confirms she is correct and teaches the class about the great sage who survived the first calamity and was the first to learn how to use magic. The academy was created to make more magicians just like him. He is the strongest magician in human history. The teacher advises them to learn about him and prepare for the upcoming test. The protagonist starts feeling embarrassed as he hears everyone praising Ichikami. He was not expecting such torture and starts regretting joining the academy. He remembers what the doctor said and assumes everyone has weak magic because now the world is at peace. He looks outside his window and starts smiling as he enjoys his new peaceful life. The teacher finally ends the class and hopes everyone is prepared for the magic power assessment exam tomorrow. Tadano approaches the protagonist again and asks if he heard what the teacher said. He is excited and believes it's going to be fun seeing Kusanagi's dogshit magic abilities. Our boy wonders why the bully isn't shutting up. He decides to leave the classroom, and as he walks away, Tadano points out that even his parents had no magic abilities. The bully calls him an orphan and starts laughing at him. The protagonist finally starts talking back. Tadano becomes angry as he hears Kusanagi insulting him. His patience runs out, and he starts activating some kind of fire magic. The classmates become shocked and try to stop him. One of them wonders if he is really going to use such a spell inside the classroom. Tadano fires the magic spell towards our boy, hoping he dies. The blue-haired girl moves forward to stop him, but she ends up being too late. As he sees the fire blast coming towards him, the protagonist stands completely unfazed. The magic attack hits him hard, and all the students step back. Mizuha calls it stupid and warns him not to use magic in such a meaningless fight, not wanting anyone hurt. Tadano defends himself, blaming Kusanagi and refusing to accept his fault. The students grow concerned about our boy, but as the smoke clears, Kusanagi comes out unscathed. The students are surprised, and he admits he got caught off guard. Tadano, scared, questions why Kusanagi is still standing despite taking the magic attack head-on. Our boy can easily defend against level 1 magic with his barrier without using powers. He tolerated the insults because Tadano is just a child, but now believes he must be punished. With a cold expression, he moves toward the bully. Tadano sweats anxiously, and Kusanagi unleashes his magic. The students freeze, unable to move, all questioning what's happening. Mizuha wonders what's going on. Kusanagi walks toward Tadano, moving his hand forward. Tadano nearly shits himself, but the teacher intervenes, entering the classroom and asking about the sound. He questions if anyone is using magic inside. Kusanagi assures him there's nothing going on inside, believing the magic came from outside. The teacher remembers no magic activity today, but our boy says someone outside their department might be practicing. The teacher demands an explanation for the smoke, and Kusanagi answers it came from outside. The teacher believes him, orders the class to return to their seats, and resolves to find the culprit. Kusanagi apologizes with a smile and decides to create false evidence to close the case. All the students, including Mizuha, are surprised. Tadano grits his teeth in frustration. The protagonist believes the students are weak and doubts they can kill a monster. Though the calamity ended 50 years ago, he knows dangerous monsters may still exist. He decides to check it out. At night, he enters old Shibuya using magic circles, observing the ruined city and remembering what it looked like in his past life. He finds no monsters and assumes the police handled it. Suddenly, he senses a monster's aura and a human nearby and quickly moves to investigate. A monster corners a white-haired girl who cries in fear and begs for her life. The monster moves to eat her, but the boy intervenes. The monster roars in pain and dies in one attack. The protagonist notices a police badge on her clothes. Assuming she's from the magician police, he advises her to be more careful next time. She thanks him, but he summons circles and leaves. She wonders who he was, thinking he's a great magician but questioning how he defeated the monster without chanting. Kusanagi feels glad his face is hidden, not wanting attention since he's newly reincarnated. He's surprised to see a police magician almost die to a weak monster and assumes even the police are weaker now. He doubts people from this era can defeat monsters. The whole new generation, including students and police, is much weaker than before. He smiles, realizing humanity needs his powers again. He starts moving, deciding to defeat all the monsters in the area. The next day, at the academy, the teacher asks everyone to get ready for the magic power test. He hopes they measure both attributes and the amount properly, as they're crucial if they want to pursue a magician profession. Our boy questions why his powers can't be measured without the weird device, understanding its necessity for students but wondering how a teacher can be unaware that magic perception is a foundation of magic. Mizuha steps forward and asks if it's the right time. The students notice them talking and wonder why Mizuha is calling Kusanagi out. She introduces herself as the second daughter of the noble magic house Mizuha Yuika. He doesn't understand what a noble family is, so she explains it's one of the 4 leading noble houses, heads of magicians. He doesn't recognize her and remembers no noble families during his time. Observing her weak magic, he wonders why she brags about her family of prominent magicians with such a pathetic magic level. Mizuha asks why he's uninterested, hoping he'd be more grateful. Tadano grits his teeth in jealousy, wondering what they're talking about. Kusanagi asks why a magic noble would talk to a lowlife like him. She gets annoyed but tries to keep her dignity, thinking she must act properly as a noble. He questions if she has a mental issue. Mizuha recalls the magic blast that did 0 damage to him yesterday and wonders if there's a reason behind it. She tries to bring it up, but the teacher interrupts, telling the students to get ready for measurements. Kusanagi takes the opportunity to walk away, smiling. Mizuha decides to wait and see his real powers after the assessments. Tadano confidently unleashes his powers, showing 1000 magic power with a fire attribute. He celebrates his improvement. Kusanagi notes that the standards are the same as in his time. Next, Mizuha steps forward, unleashing her magic. Her attribute is water, and her magic power is 2000. Everyone is surprised, and the teacher praises both her and Tadano, saying they're at the top and will make great magicians. The students start praising them too. Kusanagi, disappointed, calls it a joke, thinking 2000 magic power is no better than amateur level. Mizuha looks smug, trying to show off her noble family's power. He wonders why she's proudly looking at him. Suddenly, he hears the teacher call him for assessments. As he walks toward the device, he hears students talk about his results last year. Despite excelling in studies, he ranked lowest in magic. Tadano, thinking Kusanagi has 0 talent, looks forward to seeing him embarrass himself. Mizuha wonders how much power Kusanagi is hiding but doubts he can surpass her. Irritated, Kusanagi remembers standing out in his past life, which was annoying. He considers holding back but decides to go all out, unleashing everything with a smile and challenging the machine to handle the power of the greatest sage in history. The machine glows and a beam of light shoots out of the building, noticed by 2 students from different classes. Mizuha is confused as the machine starts acting strangely. It glows more before a huge explosion breaks it. The students scramble to save themselves from the blast. Our boy is disappointed the machine broke, thinking he barely even tried. He doubts any of his classmates could sense his magic power. The teacher, concerned, asks if everyone is fine. They assure him they are. He asks Kusanagi if he's okay, commenting that he got lucky, standing in the middle of the explosion. The teacher wonders if the device malfunctioned. He's worried it's now impossible to measure Kusanagi's magic power and attributes. Kusanagi asks why he's so concerned. The teacher says he was hoping to split the students into groups for combat class, but can't decide without the assessment results. The teacher asks Tadano to take Kusanagi in his group. Tadano agrees, seeing an opportunity to bully our boy. The teacher is relieved, glad it's Tadano. The bully approaches Kusanagi, saying he looks forward to their combat class, his face twisted with an evil expression. The students reach Old Shibuya, and the teacher explains that there are still a few monsters living inside the city, which was destroyed by the Great Calamity. The magicians and police regularly come to this abandoned city to fight the monsters that are still living here. The students of the academy are also required to help with this for some reason. The teacher assures them not to stress, since most monsters have already been taken care of by the pro-magicians and police officers. Our boy wasn't expecting a practical class. He hopes the students can take out a few monsters, since they'll be working in groups. He remembers coming here last night but feels weird as he senses a few monsters nearby. He remembers that he cleaned the place properly yesterday. He doesn't find any signs of disaster nearby, and questions why more monsters keep appearing in Old Shibuya. He hears a few girls talking about competing with each other. Despite it being a practical class, our boy is surprised to see the students acting so carefree. Mizuha carefully observes Kusanagi for some reason. The teacher starts the practical class and hopes everyone can work with each other well. Tadano notices the protagonist and calls him. He approaches our boy with his group and advises him to stay where he is and avoid getting in their way. Tadano makes it clear he won't go easy this time if Kusanagi gets carried away like before. The protagonist doesn't understand why they don't just ignore him if they hate him so much. Tadano becomes angry and orders him not to talk back. He doesn't understand why Mizuha still talks to Kusanagi even though he's totally trash. Our boy is astonished to hear this and finds out that Tadano has feelings for Mizuha. Tadano becomes enraged. The protagonist notices something, and the bullies try to attack him with their magic powers. But he warns them to stop. Tadano makes it clear that his apology won't work this time. Kusanagi asks him to look behind, but Tadano believes he's trying to play some kind of stupid trick to save himself. Tadano looks behind, and the whole group of bullies finds a tall monster standing behind them. They all start sweating anxiously and question why there's a demon soldier in this abandoned city. The other bullies hype up Tadano and believe he can defeat it. He assures them he will win, though with an anxious expression on his face. He moves forward and attacks it with his fire magic. An explosion occurs as it hits the monster. Tadano and his friends become relieved, but as the smoke clears, the monster stands unscathed in front of them. Tadano sees no scratch on it and becomes terrified. Our boy reveals that his pathetic level 1 magic won't do anything to a demon soldier. As the monster moves forward, the whole group gets terrified. They all fall to their knees and start shivering. Tadano's eyes get teary, and he wonders if his life ends here. He pathetically pisses his pants as well, but just as he is about to be killed, the demon soldier notices our boy's power. It becomes scared and takes a step back. Kusanagi moves forward and is surprised that the monster was able to sense which one of them is the strongest. He faces the demon soldier himself and unleashes his power. The monster starts going all out as well and summons multiple magic circles. Tadano and his group doubt the protagonist can defeat it. They all accept their death. The monster pulls out some level 2 magic called Rock Break. A huge rock is about to hit our boy, but he stands unfazed and smiles. He pulls out a level 1 magic called Fire Arrow and throws it toward the demon soldier. His fire arrow completely destroys the rock thrown by the monster. It hits the demon soldier as well, and a huge explosion occurs. Tadano and his gang partners open their eyes. They're shocked to see the monster died. Tadano questions what's happening and wonders if Kusanagi is behind all of this. He doesn't believe it, and thinks it's impossible for someone like Kusanagi. But our boy lets him know that if he is the one using it, even level 1 magic is enough to defeat the demon soldier. He finds it strange to see such monsters appearing in Shibuya, even though he just cleaned the whole place and defeated all the monsters in this area yesterday. He thinks maybe it's some kind of bad omen before a big disaster. The protagonist wonders if he should take the whole situation seriously. Suddenly, he gets flashbacks of the destruction he saw in his previous life. He had to watch many people, including his loved ones, die in front of him. He becomes a bit sad and squeezes his fist. The protagonist becomes determined to save humanity, even if the calamity ends up happening again. The other bullies admit they saw Kusanagi defeat the demon soldier. They wonder if it's the same Kusanagi they know. Tadano becomes frustrated and punches the wall. He feels angry and doesn't understand what's happening. Meanwhile, Mizuha observes everything from behind and is surprised to learn more about Kusanagi. Mizuha pulls out a level 1 magic called Aqua Saucer and easily defeats a weak monster. Her classmates are astonished, so they start praising her. She feels irritated and wonders why ordinary people get impressed so easily. She believes it's just because she's a genius. Suddenly, she finds Tadano's group. Mizuha asks her group members to handle the rest and leaves. She thinks Tadano might be bullying the protagonist again and feels excited. She quickly runs to watch them so she doesn't miss this opportunity. She stands behind a wall and takes a peek. Mizuha becomes shocked as she sees a demon soldier. She doubts they can take such a monster on in battle. But despite being scared, the girl decides to help them since she belongs to the Mizuha family. She is confident she can do something. Mizuha runs toward the group, yelling at everyone to start running. Suddenly, a huge wave of fire magic gets launched in front of her and hits the demon soldier. Kusanagi takes down the strong monster in one attack. Mizuha is shocked and wonders if our boy is behind all of this. She remembers Kusanagi used to be a shy kid with trash magic powers. The girl is unable to believe she's looking at the same Kusanagi. She was watching closely and didn't even hear any chanting. Mizuha doesn't understand how it's possible for him to defeat a demon soldier with just level 1 magic without even chanting a single spell. It's all too hard for her to believe. She understands that every demon's strength is determined by the number of crystals they have on their body. This method is also used to establish a ranking between demons. Magical beasts are rank 6, demon soldiers are rank 5, demon captains are rank 4, demon generals take the 3rd rank, the demon king comes at rank 2, and lastly, the strongest demon, also known as the demon god, is rank 1. These numbers are all fixed for each demon, so every modern magician knows at least level 3 magic is required to defeat a demon soldier. She doesn't believe level 1 magic is enough to beat it. Kusanagi starts walking in her direction. She knows she has no reason to hide, so she peeks again and looks at the protagonist. He calls her out for peeking around like this. She becomes embarrassed and questions how he found out. Our boy thinks it would be stupid not to know since she is a mage. Mizuha gets confused. He's disappointed to see they really can't sense magic at all. The boy starts walking away. She tries to stop him, but he doesn't listen and keeps moving forward. Mizuha demands an explanation and starts running behind him but finds no one in the alley. Kusanagi jumps up a building and feels irritated as he sees the girl doing her best to find him. He decides to check around for monsters and learns there are no demon soldiers in the area left, but the number of magical beasts is still a lot. After seeing Tadano's pathetic performance in front of a demon soldier, he doubts other students are capable of taking on magical beasts. The protagonist decides to get rid of a few magical beasts. His body starts glowing suddenly as he activates his magic. He's able to cover the area around the abandoned city, so he pulls out 2 magic circles and uses his level 2 magic called Barret. Multiple beams of light shoot out into the sky and spread across Shibuya. Tadano and his group notice the beam of light. They think they are seeing shooting stars. Mizuha recognizes it as magic and wonders who unleashed multiple magic abilities at once. Somewhere inside Shibuya, 2 students become surrounded by magical beasts. They become hopeless as they see multiple monsters approaching them at once. They both give up and accept their fate, but as the monster moves forward to kill the girl, it suddenly stops and starts screaming in pain as it gets hit by the strong beam of light. The students ask each other if they're fine. The protagonist watches everything from above. He feels amazing killing all the monsters. He sees all of them dropping dead and suddenly realizes he overdid it and ended up killing almost all the monsters in Shibuya. Kusanagi becomes concerned and wonders if the class will still proceed after this. He regrets not holding back. He uses his magic circles to move around the city and finds a hidden alley to land. He doesn't want to hide his powers more than necessary, but all the attention is annoying. He joins his classmates and teachers. The teacher checks a magical beast's dead body and wonders why so many are left. He thought most had already been hunted down or died. He believes a skilled individual just killed them, since killing a monster in a single strike isn't easy. He remembers the magic that killed the monsters. He knows firing so many magic bullets falls under the null attribute. Astonished, he admits he's never seen such a thing before. He admits things would have gotten out of hand without the magic bullets, knowing even firing 2 is an impressive feat. The teacher is in disbelief and understands that if the number reaches 6 or more, no average student can use such magic. The students yell in frustration, asking why they had to face so many monsters and almost lose their lives. The teacher bows and apologizes. He recalls confirming with the police that most monsters had been wiped out already and regrets not double-checking with the school. He genuinely apologizes for putting the whole class in danger. A female student asks if someone came to save them. The teacher says he has no idea but adds that it wasn't the police or an official mage, but likely some illegal magician. He thanks the unknown savior in his heart. Our boy smiles as he listens to the teacher indirectly praise him. He notices a few students discussing his magic bullets, all wondering what they were. Kusanagi is relieved to see everyone is okay, even his bullies. Tadano grits his teeth in frustration. The whole group of bullies stares at the protagonist. Mizuha remembers seeing Kusanagi defeat a demon soldier alone with just level 1 magic, followed by some kind of infinite magic. She wonders if Kusanagi is behind both. Fire and null are different attributes, and she doubts any student can have both. Even Kusanagi. She calms down, thinking it's impossible for him to have 2 attributes and assumes someone else is behind the null attribute. She still doesn't understand how Kusanagi defeated the demon soldier alone. Tadano's group suggests he might also be behind the laser beams. Tadano calls it impossible, but his friend reminds him that Kusanagi defeated the demon soldier too. Tadano becomes angry and warns his friend to shut up or he'll die. His friends become terrified. Tadano makes it clear he'll never believe someone like Kusanagi is capable of such feats. He thinks Kusanagi is hiding something. His lackeys agree and remember how much of a coward Kusanagi is. Tadano screams in rage, saying he'll prove Kusanagi is cheating. He's determined to push Kusanagi into a corner and force him to reveal his true identity. After school, Kusanagi walks out and gets surrounded by a huge gang of bullies. Tadano steps forward and says he's been waiting patiently. The protagonist feels irritated and advises them to put that persistence into learning magic instead. Tadano believes he has no right to say such things since he cheats too. Kusanagi is confused by the accusation of cheating, but Tadano insists he's definitely hiding cheap tricks. Tired of their nonsense, Kusanagi realizes there's no point reasoning with them. Tadano orders him to follow. He praises Kusanagi for not running away. Kusanagi clarifies there's no reason to. Tadano doesn't believe him and attacks, throwing a punch, knowing Kusanagi won't use magic in a public park. The punch hits his face, but he remains unfazed. The bullies gang up on him, attacking, but he remains patient and doesn't fight back. Tadano asks what's wrong, assuming Kusanagi can't do anything without his magic. He continues attacking, making it clear he won't stop and will kill Kusanagi even if he begs. The protagonist feels disappointed. Their attacks don't even scratch him. His magical powers automatically defend him from any physical attack. Annoyed, he decides to act hurt to satisfy Tadano. Suddenly, someone appears behind and questions why they're attacking Kusanagi. Tadano looks back and sees it's Mizuha. The bully becomes embarrassed and tries to clarify. He tells Mizuha they're just playing around. She doesn't fall for his bullshit and calls him out for bullying Kusanagi. She is disappointed to see her classmates acting this way and wonders if they don't feel ashamed because of their actions. Tadano feels weird but blames all of it on Kusanagi. He thinks Mizuha hates him now, all because of him. She grabs the protagonist's hand and starts dragging him out of this whole mess. Tadano notices her grab Kusanagi's hand. He feels jealous and gets fed up. Tadano stops holding back and loses his patience. He tries to throw a magic attack towards our boy. Kusanagi becomes annoyed. Tadano gets ready to end his life, and his lackeys activate their magic as well. Mizuha questions why they're acting this way. The whole group throws a fire attack towards the protagonist. Mizuha knows how dangerous it is, so she tries to save Kusanagi, but she is unable to make it in time. He takes all the attacks head on. Tadano laughs confidently as he believes no trashy tricks will help Kusanagi save himself from this much power. His lackeys get concerned and wonder if he died. Tadano calls them stupid for worrying so much. He makes up a story that they just used magic outside of school, and it ended up getting out of control. Kusanagi just got caught in the whole mess, and that's the reason he got hurt. The lackeys believe they took it too far. As the smoke clears, Kusanagi says he was trying to be patient since they're nothing more than brats to him, but their stupidity can't be cured unless they get punished. He gets ready to teach them all a lesson. Tadano is surprised to find him alive even though they threw such powerful magic spells at him. Kusanagi becomes serious and tells them they shouldn't have dragged Mizuha into their fight. He wonders how rotten they are for acting this way. Tadano screams and blames both of them for this mess. He thinks they should regret making a fool out of him, so he pulls out another magic circle and announces they will all keep attacking till Kusanagi finally drops dead. Our boy pulls out a tiny magic circle. The bullies laugh at him and call it crappy. They assume he's bluffing, and all of them attack at once with everything they have, hoping Kusanagi finally dies. The protagonist uses magic drain. Weird green tentacles come out of the small circle and grab the whole gang. They all become terrified and try to free themselves but fail miserably. Their strength gets sucked out, and the bullies start falling unconscious. Tadano and his lackeys stop moving. Kusanagi is disappointed. He was expecting them to last a little longer than this. He hopes the bullies reflect after this and get their shit together. Mizuha becomes confused. She wonders if she saw magic just now. She is surprised to see the whole gang got knocked unconscious but doesn't understand how it happened. Kusanagi gets up and tries to leave, but Mizuha stops him and asks what happened. She asks about the magic as well and remembers he couldn't even cast a weak spell just a few days ago. She questions who he is. The protagonist becomes annoyed by her behavior and questions her. He advises her to do something else instead of asking so many weird questions. Mizuha starts blushing. She shows her gratitude and thanks him for saving her. The girl requests him to now answer her questions, but she doesn't find him anywhere. She becomes embarrassed and questions why he left her again. At night, Kusanagi enters Old Shibuya again and uses his magic circles to move around. He had a bad feeling during the daytime, so he decided to come and check what's happening. He finds more monsters in the area, even though he killed all of them during the daytime. He believes it might be some kind of bad omen. The protagonist is confident he can handle it all alone if the monsters are only appearing in Old Shibuya, but he's able to sense more in other places. He thinks it might be too much for the police, and there's barely any good magicians as well, but he doubts he can defeat monsters all across the country alone. He doesn't know what to do, so he decides to form a plan first. He thinks of starting by wiping out all the monsters in Old Shibuya first, while avoiding any kind of attention. He uses his magic bullets again and kills multiple monsters at once. A drunk guy enters a dangerous place without realizing it. Suddenly, a monster appears behind him, but it gets taken care of by the protagonist instantly. The guy notices him but blames it on his imagination and starts leaving. Our boy hopes he didn't get seen by the guy. He uses his magic circle and jumps out. Someone catches him and records everything on his phone. The guy feels astonished and believes his video will definitely go viral. He doesn't waste a second and posts it online. The next day, Tadano, Kusanagi, and Mizuha are called out by the principal. The class teacher says he was informed that some students used magic outside the school grounds, and makes it clear that any students caught will be expelled without hesitation. He allows them to explain themselves. Tadano points to the protagonist and tries blaming everything on him, claiming our boy came looking for a fight. Kusanagi feels impressed by how easily Tadano lies and realizes he has no other choice but to speak up and defend himself, even though it's very annoying. As he's about to say something, Mizuha speaks up and defends the boy. She tells the principal they're all spitting lies and reveals that Kusanagi was the one being bullied by Tadano and his friends, who fired magic attacks at him first. The teacher listens carefully and finds out our boy used magic too. She calls it self-defense and thinks it's not his fault since he had no other choice. Kusanagi is surprised by her. Tadano tries to tell the teacher they're innocent too, but Mizuha shuts him up and calls him out for his actions. She calls him a bad person for bullying Kusanagi and then blaming everything on him when faced with consequences. She doesn't understand how he's not ashamed of himself. Tadano calls the protagonist trash and says he doesn't deserve to be in this school, justifying his actions by saying he was just trying to clean up the trash. Mizuha makes it clear that he's the trash and not worthy of the academy. Tadano, still arrogant, says he's at the top of the class and the only one worthy of standing beside her. Kusanagi doesn't deserve it. She doesn't understand what he's talking about. Tadano warns her not to cover for Kusanagi and to open her eyes, advising her to become his woman. She's disgusted and tells him there's no chance she would ever choose trash like him. Tadano is shocked by the rejection. She rejects him for his violent nature and calls him stupid for confessing in such a weird situation. Our boy understands why she said that but thinks she overdid it. Tadano falls unconscious after hearing the rejection. Since he and his friends are the bad ones here and Kusanagi was just protecting himself against their magic attacks, the principal makes it clear he doesn't need students who selfishly use magic and hurt others. He expels Tadano and his group. Tadano's lackeys try to defend themselves, saying they were just doing whatever Tadano asked them to do. The teacher allows Kusanagi and Mizuha to leave and go back to their classes. They both leave the principal's office. Mizuha gets angry and calls Tadano the worst guy ever. Our boy asks what's going to happen now that they're expelled. She explains there's no chance they can ever become magicians, which is pretty obvious. She doesn't understand why Kusanagi didn't speak up for himself. He says he was about to, but she didn't give him a chance. Suddenly he remembers something. She asks what's wrong. Kusanagi says he was thinking about all the times she tried to save him. First, back in class, during his fight, and now, when the principal called them. He calls her a good girl for always helping him out. She starts blushing uncontrollably and gets embarrassed. Mizuha tells him to shut up and runs toward the classroom so she can enter first. Kusanagi smiles as he watches her leave. He believes the old Kusanagi died and he got reincarnated in this body. Our boy wonders if he was bullied to death, or if it really was just a car accident. He still doesn't know the truth, but feels relieved to get the bullies punished for whatever they did. He hopes this pays off and smiles. The principal informs 2 senior students about what happened earlier, saying that a few students got into a fight and even used magic in public. He assures them no one got hurt. The senior student asks why she got called out if there's no issue anymore. The principal tells her that one of the students involved is Yuika Mizuha. The blue-haired student understands and thanks the principal for informing her. He asks her to give his regards to her father. She asks him not to worry and reveals that her family is interested in investing in the school. She walks out with her friend, and the principal wonders if Kusanagi is absurdly strong, since fighting multiple mages at once is almost impossible. There's no way a normal student would win unless they're hiding some kind of mysterious strength. He wonders if Kusanagi is stronger than them, but the blue-haired girl answers negatively. He is curious about the boy and tells her he wants to meet him to confirm it. She thinks about whether her little sister should be expelled depending on how competent Kusanagi is. She is Mizuha Ruka from the 3rd year class, and her friend is Katsuragi Ryuji, also from the 3rd year class. Kusanagi feels demotivated now that his life is peaceful again. He hears a few classmates talking about someone known as the Black Mage, and wonders if it's something related to the magic nobles he learned about. He decides to not care about it for now. The teacher appears and calls Kusanagi outside for the assessment test. He explains that the students who couldn't be measured last time now have the chance to take the test again. Mizuha notices what's happening and feels glad, as she can finally learn more about our boy. Suddenly she notices her older sister, Ruka Mizuha, and Katsuragi entering. She wonders why her sister came out of nowhere. The teacher announces Kusanagi's turn, asking him to start the magic power assessment test. Our boy remembers he destroyed the machine last time, so he decides to be more careful and hold back. He tries pouring out his magic power, but suddenly starts feeling weird. Extreme fatigue hits him, and he begins breathing heavily. The teacher asks if he's okay, noticing the machine and checking the results. Mizuha and the teacher are shocked to see that, for some reason, his attribute is none, and his magic power turns out to be only 100, which puts a smile on Katsuragi's face. 2 students talk about Kusanagi, calling it the lowest magic power in their batch and labeling him useless since he doesn't even have an attribute. Katsuragi assumes there's no truth behind the story they heard from the principal and doesn't believe the protagonist defeated all the delinquents on his own. Ruka feels disappointed and decides to leave, as they have no reason to stay anymore. The students notice Kusanagi is tired just from the assessment, and they can understand it since his magic power is extremely low. The teacher tries to comfort Kusanagi and tells him magic power isn't the most important thing. Mizuha, however, doesn't believe her eyes. She remembers seeing our boy defeat the demon soldier all by himself and knows he can use two attributes, fire and null, at the same time. She wonders what kind of trick he's using, as she's never heard of mages hiding their magic power by somehow adjusting it. The protagonist feels relieved and is happy with the result. He performed some kind of magic manipulation to alter the results, even though it's taking a toll on his body. He feels confident and thinks he's finally gotten a grip on it. As he leaves the room, our boy finds Mizuha and learns she was at the assessment room out of curiosity. She tells him she just came out of curiosity. Suddenly, Ruka stops both of them inside the school hall. Kusanagi asks who they both are, and she introduces herself and Katsuragi. He recognizes her family name and questions if she wants something from him. She says she has zero interest in him and walks toward her little sister. Mizuha becomes concerned, and Ruka, disappointed, learns her sister couldn't even win against a few delinquents. She also learns Mizuha was saved by someone with 100 magic power and asks if all of this is true. Mizuha confirms, which makes her sister angry. She orders Mizuha to just quit the academy. Mizuha doesn't understand why she's saying all this for no reason. Ruka reminds her that she hasn't won a single match whenever they fight. Whether it's academic results, sports, or magic craft, she loses every single time. Ruka doesn't believe Mizuha is good enough to become a mage. She thinks it's enough for Mizuha to quit the academy and join a normal school instead. Mizuha starts crying but is unable to say anything. Her sister confirms if she understands everything, and Mizuha anxiously answers she does. Kusanagi finally intervenes and calls Ruka arrogant. She asks him to repeat his words with a cold expression. He points out how she's been talking nonsense without stopping, not even caring to listen to what her little sister has to say. It's clear to him that she's filled with arrogance. She makes it clear it's a conversation between two family members, so he has no right to budge in. He's surprised to hear her calling it a conversation when all he hears is her ordering around her little sister without giving her a chance to talk. She becomes angry, but our boy continues, believing even she doesn't have the right to talk someone out of their way of living. He calls her out and tells her she's horrible for forcing her little sister to give up on what she wants to become. Ruka confidently says her incompetent sister doesn't have the talent to become a mage since she can't even defeat her. Mizuha starts crying and agrees with her older sister. She doesn't believe in herself and thinks she's been lying to herself all this time. She tried to convince herself she's a genius with the talents to become a mage, but she couldn't even defeat her big sister once. Kusanagi confidently says she can win against Ruka. He starts smiling, confusing everyone. Ruka asks if he's challenging her, and he requests some time since it's impossible for Mizuha to win right now. Ruka gives them 2 weeks' time, suggesting they have a 2-on-2 magic duel. He's surprised but agrees, calling it nonsense. He asks Mizuha if she's willing to do it with a smile on his face, and she calms down, stopping her crying. Mizuha becomes determined and agrees to participate in the challenge. Once it's decided, Kusanagi asks them never to bring up this matter again if he wins. Ruka bets her sister will need to leave the academy if she and Katsuragi win the fight. She warns them and makes it clear she's not planning to hold back, so they need to properly prepare and face the truth. After a while, Mizuha and Kusanagi go to the rooftop. She requests his help and hopes he can teach her more about magic so she can improve quickly. He finally understands why he was called up to the rooftop. He asks if she's really sure about learning magic from someone trashy like him, since his magic power is only 100. She doesn't fall for his words and already knows he's hiding his real strength. She believes he is much stronger than her. He notices she isn't backing off this time. She assumes he knows how to get stronger, which is why he challenged her sister to a fight. He knows Ruka is the type to desperately try and control everything. It's in her nature. That's why he provoked her, so she'd fight him. But there's no way he can say that to Mizuha. She bows down and starts begging for his assistance. He gives up and agrees to help her get stronger. She asks again to confirm it. He warns her in advance, making it clear that she needs to follow all his instructions, and there's no going back once the training starts. She agrees to all his conditions instantly. Kusanagi finds it hard to decline since she is begging so hard for it. Since he already needs to prepare for a few things after seeing the number of monsters in Shibuya, raising a mage might be a promising idea. He decides to begin her training today and thinks about finding a place to practice. Mizuha starts blushing and invites him to her place with a shy expression. After a while, they reach her place. He's astonished to see the huge house, but she thinks it's only natural since her father is a noble mage. Mizuha suddenly remembers this is her first time inviting a guy to her house. She wonders if he found her invitation strange, even though she's not hiding any dirty intentions. Kusanagi suggests they should start, but he notices she's daydreaming, so he calls her and addresses her as Yuika. The girl becomes embarrassed to hear her first name. but he tells her he's just trying to avoid confusion since her sister also goes by the name Mizuha. She's a bit disappointed to hear his answer. He asks if she has a different name in mind that he can use, but she agrees with Yuika, so he decides to start the training and requests her to take care of him. The first question he asks her is about her magic power. She thinks it's easy and answers that it's the energy needed to perform magic, and it is available in everyone's body. He asks her about incantations next. Yuika confidently answers that it's like a program that automatically turns magic into an attack. He questions if there's any way to increase one's magic power, but she answers negatively and believes it is determined before birth and stops increasing after a certain age. Yuika confidently smiles and feels proud of herself as she answered everything perfectly. He lets her know all of her answers are wrong. With a disappointed expression, she starts getting teary and questions if he's trying to call her stupid. The protagonist genuinely feels bad and wonders how foolish the current mages are. He's surprised to see such a huge change in only 50 years. He starts explaining that magic power is not only found in her body, but it is also available in nature and their surroundings. Incantations or spells are simply ways to properly back up the magic craft. It is also possible to increase magic power intentionally. She finds it hard to believe his words and calls everything a lie, as it would be against the Academy's ideas. It would overturn the Magic Craft Academy if it were all true. He doesn't care if she believes his words or not. He intends to teach her about these 3 things during their training. He orders her to sit down and lets her know he's about to channel his magic power into her body, so she needs to inform him once she starts feeling it. She is surprised to learn there's a way to sense magic power. He makes it clear she won't get stronger if it's impossible for her to feel it. He orders her to close her eyes and begins touching her. He unleashes his magic power but finds out she still can't feel it. He lets out more magic power and wonders how she can't feel magic of such degree. Finally, Yuika feels something. She thinks her back is getting hotter. He teaches her about it and says it's called magic power perception. She finally understands what he was trying to say earlier. He orders her to always remember the sensation since it's important for her to feel it first in order to detect magic power. He explains it is also available in nature, so she needs to find it as her first goal and get used to feeling magic power. She smiles confidently and assures him she's going to master it in no time since she is the noble daughter of the Mizuha family. Our boy doubts she can fulfill her promise since she couldn't even sense it when he poured so much magic power into her back. He accepts the fact that she might not be suited to become a mage. A week passes, and Yuika starts crying and tells our boy she's still not capable of sensing magic. She's a huge letdown and disappoints the protagonist. He's surprised that a whole week wasn't enough for her to learn such a simple thing, even though she practiced so hard. He guesses she's just really slow at understanding the concept. Since they barely have any time to spare, he decides to pour some magic into her again. He touches her back and, as he starts unleashing his magic, he instructs Yuika to open her eyes. She opens them with hesitation but becomes surprised as she is finally able to see the magic aura around her body. She starts smiling as she is finally able to understand what magic power is. Yuika becomes amazed by her new skill. Since she's finally capable of seeing magic power, she thinks about measuring Kusanagi's power level. For some reason, she is barely able to sense anything from him, which makes her confused. He praises her for all her efforts, but she calls it natural since she is a genius. Now that she can finally use magic perception, he lets her know they're about to work on adjusting her magic power next. He explains the whole process of how to use the appropriate amount of magic power for any magic craft. She needs to focus only on efficiency and forget everything else. She also needs to use all of her magic power to its absolute limit, so that the amount of magic she can use increases once she properly recovers. He believes she can easily follow all his instructions now that she can sense magic clearly. He is aware that what he's trying to teach her is completely different from the basics of the Magic Academy, but he doesn't care if she believes in his words. Yuka assures him she believes in his words and smiles as she says she does not doubt him anymore. He is happy to hear her opinion has changed. He decides to start the next stage of their training. The protagonist asks her to step back a little and get ready as they are about to fight each other. She confirms she does not mind, as she is looking forward to seeing his true powers. Yuika uses the first level of aqua sorcery and throws multiple water attacks, but our boy blocks all of them effortlessly, which surprises the girl. She does not understand how he blocked them. He used the first level magic barrier using non-attribute magic. He makes it clear, if she can't even destroy such a weak barrier, there is no hope she's going to win against her sister. She becomes desperate and starts throwing ice bullets. He explains she needs to keep moving even while throwing attacks because stopping her movements will surely make her lose if she is facing a capable mage. She becomes frustrated and throws more attacks, but finally gets tired and gives up. He explains it's wrong to use so much magic power without efficiency. If she is able to adjust the magic power she puts behind a spell, then she will finally be able to throw attacks without incantations. Kusanagi asks her to watch closely and shows how she's using magic. He throws a fire blast toward a dummy twice and also demonstrates how he uses magic. She understands the magic power behind her attacks is less compared to his. He calls her right and explains she doesn't even need incantations to perform any magic if she learns how to adjust her magic power. She finally understands there is no reason to chant while performing a spell. He confirms it and explains her first step will be to learn how to shorten her incantations somehow. Once she learns how to adjust the magic, she has no reason to use incantations. He believes it will be useful if she is able to shorten her incantations, so she won't have to waste any effort or magic power on incantations. This way, her magic craft will definitely become stronger. He orders her to get up and fight him again. She thinks it is too soon, but he calls it meaningless otherwise and, with a cold expression, orders her to train like her life depends on it. She becomes terrified after hearing this and falls down. He asks if she's fine and makes it clear they're going to do this daily from now on. He notices she isn't even hearing his words. During the nighttime, our boy enters Harajuku. He recently sensed a few monsters in this area as well and came to check. Even though he is constantly trying to eliminate all the monsters, for some reason, the numbers still remain the same. Suddenly, he notices someone being attacked by a magical beast. He wastes no time and quickly rushes toward the kid. He's able to make it in time and effortlessly defeats the monster instantly. The boy asks the little kid if she is okay. Instead of thanking him, she starts taking his pictures. He quickly leaves the area and wonders why she didn't even show her gratitude and started taking pictures. He thinks there is definitely something wrong with people nowadays. He decides to cover his face properly next time and leaves the place. The next day, the protagonist starts training with Yuika again. She falls down real quick and gets tired. The days of their duel are getting closer. He believes her progress so far is not bad, but she is still nowhere near Ruka in almost everything. There's no chance she will succeed if she keeps this pace until the duel. He assures her and says it's fine if she wants to give up now. She gets up and tells him she has been compared to her sister her entire life. She has been forced to just give up multiple times now since she always fails to beat her sister. But she's determined to keep continuing with magic craft and never give up on it. He makes it clear she won't ever succeed like this, but she tells him to be stricter instead. He agrees to it and decides not to hold back. She is happy to hear this and gets ready to fight. They both continue to train with each other, and he teaches the girl many things. As the sun is about to set, Yuika falls unconscious after the extreme training session, and Kusanagi ends up carrying her back. After a couple of days of training together, he finally tells Yuika she is ready to fight her sister. She falls on the ground in relief. Kusanagi praises her for the hard work and efforts. She starts smiling as she hears his words. On the day of their challenge, our boy asks her if she's ready to fight them. She answers positively, and as they're about to enter the academy, they both notice a huge crowd of people. A few news reporters surround them and confirm if they're really seeing Mizuha Yuika of the noble family. They request a few words regarding the magic duel and question if she is having a fight with her sister. Kusanagi becomes confused. She explains her family is huge, and since she's about to fight her sister, it's normal for the press to act like this. He is surprised to learn people care so much about two students fighting. He guesses it is because the Mizuha family is very important. They all reach the training ground, which is surrounded by a huge audience. He thinks it is a bit too much, but she explains it is rare for students to have duels, so it's more like an event than a challenge. He's a bit surprised to learn all this. Both of them get called to the stage. Yuika gets ready, but all of a sudden her body starts shaking. He assures her and tells her to just focus on working hard. She calms down and smiles. Yuika becomes determined and moves forward towards the stage without hesitation. He calls our boy a mysterious person and admits his words really reach her heart. Yuika and Ruka finally come face to face. Ruka is surprised to see her little sister didn't just run away. Yuika confidently confirms it. Ruka calls her rude for believing she can really defeat someone like her older sister, but Yuika makes it clear she is definitely going to succeed. Ruka decides to give her a chance and thinks she has definitely changed a lot in the past 2 weeks. Yuika is aware her older sister is strong. She realizes the difference between their magic power is extremely huge, but she believes in herself and knows she will definitely win. The beginning of the duel gets announced, and both participants get permission to start. Yuika wastes no time and pulls out her magic circle. She tries shortening her chance as well. Ruka begins attacking. Kusanagi observes the match and understands that moving around while shooting magic spells is the basics of a battle. He assumes Ruka is aware of the basics of the battle between two mages at least. In comparison to her, Yuika got so nervous she completely forgot about the basics and didn't move during the battle. She doesn't have the advantage anymore, even if she reduces her chanting time. Ruka and Yuika attack each other with first-level water magic. Yuika is able to stand her ground against her older sister's attack. She's surprised by her capabilities and believes she has gotten stronger. Ruka admits she has improved her strength in just 2 weeks. Yuika is happy to hear her older sister praising her. Ruka humbles her and tells her to stop giggling as it was just a comparison. She's not getting praised. Ruka increases the level of her magic and throws a stronger attack this time. She uses second level water blitz. Yuika is unable to handle it. She gets knocked down and falls beside the protagonist. He looks at her and knows she's good at enchanting now, which increased her chances of winning. But her older sister is simply too strong for her. Ruka calls him a cruel guy for not even helping her get up, even though he was protecting her before. He tells her there's no need to help her. Ruka doesn't understand what he's trying to say. Suddenly, Yuika actually gets up and shocks her sister. Ruka doesn't understand how she's still standing, even though she got hit by level 2 blitz. Yuika makes it clear she's definitely going to win this match. Yuika has nothing else besides magic craft going on in her life. Even if she ends up losing everything, magic craft is one thing she is never going to give up on. Yuika begins attacking again. Ruka starts attacking as well. She tries her best to stand against her older sister, determined to not give up, but she ends up falling down after overusing her magic power. The announcer tells everyone contestant Yuika used up all her magic power, so Ruka is the victor of this contest. Yuika tries to get up so she can do something to win, but fails. Kusanagi calls it a battle of magic usage based on magical adjustment. He believes his friend lost in terms of the amount of magic power. Ruka asks if he understands now. She calls her little sister talentless and knows our boy probably thought about this too. He confirms she's completely talentless and very clumsy. She made such slow progress, and she is unable to properly perform whenever she is involved in a real fight. But he tells Ruka she is a real hard worker, and she persistently practiced daily like an idiot. Ruka is still disappointed by the results, but he tells her he loves hardworking people who don't give up, just like Yuika. The girl starts sobbing hearing his words. He tells everyone Yuika is his disciple, and he doesn't like it when anyone speaks badly about her so casually. Yuika starts weeping uncontrollably. Ruka calls him arrogant, and wonders why he's talking so much for someone with 100 magic power. He makes it clear for her. He will defeat her with his 100 magic power. She thinks he's just good at talking nonsense, but decides to agree. Ruka tells him his opponent is someone else, and Katsuragi appears, excited that it's his turn next. Ruka advises him to end it quickly, and he assures her there's no need to tell him twice. Katsuragi carries Yuika out and tells her to rest, ordering her to watch closely during the battle so she can learn something. She understands his words, suddenly realizing the pain in her body has disappeared, and there are no wounds on her arms either. As he enters the stage, our boy admits he can't win with just 100 magic power, even though he said otherwise earlier. He knows he'll need 100% focus to win. The protagonist decides to keep his magic power at 100, using a non-attribute attack without incantations. He's not setting up a magic barrier this time, so he knows he might die if hit directly. He feels excited, calling the situation thrilling. Katsuragi gets ready, apologizing that he's not planning on holding back. Our boy lets him know he's the one who needs to hold back. The audience cheers for Katsuragi, hoping he doesn't go all out, or the challenger might get badly injured. The guy ignores their words and activates his 8,000 magic power. Our boy notices it and knows it's not a big deal, but since he's only using 100 magic power today, there's a good chance he might actually get killed. The second match begins. As they face each other, Katsuragi hopes our boy won't hold a grudge after it's over while summoning his magic circles. With the attack he's about to throw, he thinks he can test whether Kusanagi really defeated those delinquents. He challenges Kusanagi to withstand his full power attack, but just as he's about to throw it, something hits him on the forehead. The protagonist is disappointed, calling the guy slow. The audience is shocked to see the match end so quickly. The announcer declares that contestant Kusanagi has won the match. Ruka is surprised to see her friend knocked unconscious by just one hit. She remembers he didn't even perform any incantations and wonders what kind of trick he used. Kusanagi hopes she's happy now that the match ended quickly, just as she wanted. She becomes irritated hearing his words. Yuika is shocked too and finds it hard to believe he really defeated the guy. Ruka admits he's strong, and he responds that he's actually stronger than her as well. She warns him to stop spouting nonsense. Ruka unleashes her 10,000 magic power. Kusanagi sees it through his magic perception and realizes she's stronger than the guy he fought earlier. The announcer tells the audience something unexpected is happening, as Kusanagi has used a different way of fighting, drawing a lot of attention. The next match will decide who the real victor is. The third match begins. Kusanagi uses the same trick again, shooting magic bullets toward her. She counters with water magic. Our boy only has 100 magic power, meaning he doesn't have enough to affect Ruka unless the magic bullet lands on her forehead. He realizes she's already adapted, protecting her forehead and not running while using magic. Ruka persists, throwing water attacks. But even after all that, she's shocked to see the protagonist still standing, unfazed. She knows he isn't using any magic but wonders how he's managing to stay unharmed. The audience is also confused. wondering how he's not even wet despite being hit multiple times. Yuika is also unsure about the technique he's using to protect himself, knowing he definitely did something. Ruka attacks again, but this time, the boy dodges her magic with insane speed. She finally figures out how he's still standing, but she's left speechless. Yuika realizes that a magic attack can be countered with another magic attack, and even if there's a huge power difference, there's still a way to avoid damage. Everyone knows that's the only way to avoid being hurt. Ruka grits her teeth in frustration, knowing her level 2 techniques have different speed and mass, making it almost impossible for anyone to remain unscathed in front of them. She wonders why the protagonist is standing there fearlessly against such strong spells. Kusanagi knows she's probably thinking all of this. He thinks it's easy to dodge magic attacks if you can sense and detect them clearly, but it requires a lot of courage. Ruka gets serious and uses a 3rd level spell called Azura Splash. The audience grows concerned, knowing it will be disastrous if Kusanagi gets hit. Ruka's tired but is confident Kusanagi can't dodge this attack. Out of nowhere, she gets hit by a magic bullet and falls to the ground. She doesn't understand how he's still standing. She questions what method he used to dodge her attacks. He explains that he used a magic draining technique that eats up magic craft. He simply walked through the center using drain. Ruka is speechless at first, then starts laughing, admitting her defeat. The announcer announces that Kusanagi Minato has won the match. Yuika runs to the stage, asking if they're both fine. Our boy assures her they're good, smiling as he says he won. She smiles back, becoming really happy. Ruka decides to keep her promise and gives them her word, allowing them to do whatever they want. Kusanagi is happy that it ended well. He noticed that Yuika's wounds earlier weren't that deep, guessing Ruka was probably holding back in their fight. Ruka becomes embarrassed, trying to make an excuse. He points out how much stronger Yuika has gotten in just 2 weeks. He believes Ruka probably noticed that too and thinks there's no reason for her to be so overprotective anymore. Yuika speaks up determinedly, assuring both of them that she'll grow stronger, so her sister won't have to worry about her anymore. Ruka smiles, finally starting to believe in her little sister. Kusanagi feels happy watching both sisters get along, but suddenly, he feels an immense amount of pressure and realizes this is abnormal magic. The sky turns red, and the protagonist wonders if the calamity is happening again. Tadano and his gang try finding something inside Kusanagi's bag. They've lost many people after he proved his power in the duel. His lackeys tell him he only has textbooks in his bag. Tadano calls our boy diligent and becomes frustrated. He's sure Kusanagi is hiding something. Otherwise, it's impossible for a trash like him to use such powerful spells. One of the lackeys looks outside the window and becomes terrified. Tadano wonders if he found something and goes closer. They all notice the red sky and wonder what's happening on Earth. One of them guesses it's the calamity, but Tadano doesn't believe it's really the calamity. At the training grounds, our boy becomes worried as he looks at the red sky. He wonders why he can sense such strong abnormal magic out of nowhere. He guesses it might be the calamity. Everyone becomes worried and the audience starts panicking. They all question what's happening. One of them doesn't think the calamity is really happening here. Kusanagi becomes scared as he doesn't understand why a calamity is happening all of a sudden. He wonders if it's related to what he sensed in Shinjuku. He remembers the first calamity also took place in Shinjuku. Our boy doesn't know if it's merely a coincidence or if there's something important behind it. The portals open and magical beasts start pouring out. The students become terrified and start screaming, but the teacher orders them to calm down and tries leading everyone to safety. Kusanagi wastes no time and shoots multiple magic bullets to kill the monsters. He uses magic to make an announcement. Our boy orders everyone to calm down. He explains that weak monsters are going to come out since it's only the beginning of the calamity, so they don't have to worry. He assures them it's going to be fine as long as they use their brains and follow his instructions. He instructs them to run towards the gymnasium and only move in groups since it's dangerous to move alone. He asks Ruka and the others to evacuate as well. The teacher asks what he's planning to do. Our boy explains he wants to save the people that are still inside the school building. The teacher doesn't think it's safe to go all by himself. He calls the boy reckless and tries to stop him, but Katsuragi agrees to go with our protagonist so he doesn't have to solve everything alone. The teacher is worried, but he reminds the teacher what Kusanagi can do. He has no choice but to give them permission. The teacher advises them not to force anything and stay safe. Katsuragi is confident he won't die but tries to confirm it with our boy. Kusanagi shrugs it off and informs Yuika he's going to leave now. She looks concerned for him and advises him to stay safe. Katsuragi starts running and tells his junior he's going to go first. His insane speed allows him to cover 100 meters in only 10 seconds. He asks the protagonist if he can keep up. Kusanagi pulls out his magic circles and starts moving forward with insane speed, shocking the senior. He makes it clear that he's the one going first. Katsuragi admits he has crazy speed, but just speed itself is still useless. He decides to watch our protagonist closely to see what kind of power he's hiding. He He wants to save everyone while learning more about Kusanagi. Our boy detects 58 magic users inside the school using perception skill. He assumes there might be someone with no magic power. If what he's thinking is true, he decides to check the entire school and save such students. A few students get attacked by magical beasts. He enters the classroom through a window in time and uses his magic bullets to defeat all the monsters without much effort. The female students become surprised. A monster tries sneaking up on the protagonist from behind, but he easily kills it without being phased. Katsuragi catches up and asks if he's okay. Kusanagi hopes he can help everyone evacuate without any issue and leaves. Katsuragi tries to stop him, as it's too dangerous to go alone, but fails. The protagonist is simply too fast to keep up with. Katsuragi guesses he was being a burden, but admits he's not very useful. So it's probably true. He still can't believe the boy defeated a magical beast without any effort. Katsuragi questions who he even is. Kusanagi runs through the school halls looking for more students. Even though he is capable of killing all the monsters at once with his magic bullets, he needs to kill them one by one since he is inside a school, and there's a chance he might end up hurting a student in the process. He has no other choice but to chase the monsters himself and attack them with low-grade magic to not hurt the students in the process. He enters a classroom and defeats more magical beasts to save the students hanging onto their dear lives. After he's done defeating all of them, the students show their gratitude. He's already aware he doesn't have the time to personally help everyone evacuate and runs towards the gymnasium, one by one. Somewhere else, Katsuragi saves a few students and assures them he will handle the monster while they evacuate. One of the students points towards the sky for some reason. He asks what's wrong and suddenly notices a few students slowly floating down while being inside a bubble. He wonders what the protagonist is trying to do and questions who he even is. Our boy sent the students towards Katsuragi through magic bubbles because he believes the guy is good at taking care of others, so it's fine. He suddenly senses something. A female student starts shaking in fear as she gets cornered by a huge monster. She starts crying and yells out as hard as she can to get help. A huge magic bullet destroys the beast instantly. She remembers it as the same one she saw before when she was saved the last time. Kusanagi appears and asks if she is injured. She finds out he is the one who saved her twice. Kusanagi reveals she is right. She then asks if he was also behind what happened during the practice class. The girl believes this is his second time saving her. Our boy confirms that what she is saying really did happen. The girl starts crying out of relief as she finally gets the chance to show her gratitude. She thanks him for saving her life twice. He doesn't mind it and thinks it is nothing special. She becomes speechless. Katsuragi finally catches up but looks completely out of breath. He asks who he needs to save next. Kusanagi orders the girl to follow and stay with the guy as he is going to leave now. She tries to stop him, but he ignores her words and leaves. She becomes a bit worried while Katsuragi wonders what he's looking at. Our boy knows there are still many people inside the building that he needs to save, so he has no time to wait for the police to appear. He knows he has to hurry up and save everyone as soon as possible. At the Prime Minister's office, the Prime Minister finds out the Kamui Magic Academy is under attack by the Calamity. His men don't understand why it's happening again. They all know the last calamity took place 50 years ago, and since then, nothing bad has happened. They ask the Prime Minister to quickly form a plan while assuming their country might be cursed. He informs them that both the Beast Countermeasure Division and the Police Department, along with the Magic Nobles, are all being contacted. The GSDF has also started their preparations for the calamity. His men remind him that they only have self-defense forces, who specialize in controlling disasters. They don't have any real mages who can actually stand their ground against the monsters. He clarifies that he already knows all of this. This is to be expected since people have been living an easy and peaceful life without facing calamities for a while now. They used up almost all of their military expenditure on the national defense of international affairs, so they have no other choice but to leave all the beasts and demons to the police and noble mages. He becomes frustrated to learn the same disaster from 50 years ago is happening again, but this time they don't even have Ichikami Minato on their side. Somewhere else, while driving, the girl asks her senior if the calamity really is happening again. He confirms it and believes it is definitely the calamity. She becomes worried and starts getting anxious. Even though they have been safe for the past 50 years, she is shocked to learn the peace was just temporary. The guy tells her not to worry since it is their job in the first place anyway. He is Shido Shugo from the Metropolitan Police Department. The girl becomes determined to do her best as well. She is Sergeant Sanada Karen from the police department. The news reporters reach the Magic Academy using a helicopter. One of them covers everything and informs the audience that the calamity is happening at the Magic Academy. He tells everyone about the situation and shares that monsters are constantly pouring out, and the sky has turned completely red as well. A female news reporter reveals the magical beasts started appearing out of nowhere, so the students are all currently taking refuge in the gymnasium. The teacher guides the students and believes it is not that hard to protect themselves as they are only up against magical beasts. They should be able to defeat the monsters through proper teamwork. The world watches the news. A few kids watch it as well and suddenly remember the academy is really close to where they live. They both decide to run away as soon as possible. Outside, people start panicking and running away to save their lives. Two men watch everything from a distance and realize things are looking really horrible. The audience watching news channels becomes concerned. Our boy notices the huge number of monsters pouring out. He remembers the second stage is about to start soon, and now stronger monsters are going to start appearing. As they progress through the stages, things are going to become even more difficult. There's no point in defeating them as the beasts will keep appearing non-stop. As long as he doesn't defeat the boss monster, the magical beast will keep appearing. He is aware the boss is only going to reveal itself in the final stage, so he needs to keep his cool until then. He starts feeling irritated but continues to save more people. He rescues 20 people and uses his magic bubbles again to let them float towards safety. He is having a hard time finding the students since they have been scattered everywhere. He decides to move on to the next stage. Somewhere inside a random classroom, Tadano persistently shoots his fire magic, but gives up when he finds out his attacks are having zero effect and he is out of magic power. As the demon soldier stands in front of them, the whole gang starts sobbing and wonders how they got so unlucky twice. Tadano's lackeys remind him they warned the guy about this before. The bully becomes frustrated as he remembers our boy can defeat a monster in just one hit. He doesn't understand why he can't do the same. The protagonist appears and tells him it is because he is weak trash. Tadano opens his eyes and sees a magic attack effortlessly killing the demon soldier. He becomes confused but sees Kusanagi enter the classroom. Our boy starts leaving. Tadano frustratingly admits it happened again. He ended up getting saved by Kusanagi a second time. He requests the boy to stop and questions why he got saved again, even though he is extremely annoying and always acts like a piece of trash. The protagonist tells him there is no real reason behind it. He just decided to save them because he holds the power to do so. Tadano becomes confused as he hears his words. The bully starts feeling inferior and tries insulting the protagonist. He calls the guy a wimp who can't even use magic properly. Tadano doesn't understand how he got so powerful out of nowhere. Kusanagi reveals his secret and says the real Kusanagi actually died in a car accident. He was reborn. Tadano doesn't find the logic behind it and questions how someone can get even stronger at death's door. He was expecting to be a great mage himself, but lost to a trash like Kusanagi. Our boy calls him weak trash, since strong people don't oppress the weak. And even the weak don't oppress the people who are weaker than them. He points out Tadano's flaws and thinks he is just trash consumed by a sense of superiority that was enough to fool him into thinking he is actually something. Kusanagi makes it clear for the guy. A weak trash like him can't even imagine facing our boy in a fight right now and winning. Tadano finally accepts it and gets down on his knees. He admits he was trying to run away from the reality that his powers haven't grown much since junior high. He tried taking out all of his frustration on the people who are weaker than him, but in the end, he got saved by someone like Kusanagi, who was supposed to be a trash weakling. He just couldn't accept the truth. He admits in front of his lackeys that they were all saved by Kusanagi, and the bully starts crying non-stop. Meanwhile, the protagonist defeats the monsters in the classroom. A demon soldier enters the building to kill him. He shoots his magic bullet, but the strong monster easily dodges it, so the boy has no choice but to unleash his powerful fire magic. He defeats it effortlessly, but realizes the demon soldiers are rapidly increasing in numbers, so it is possible the boss might come out soon as well. He assures the terrified students not to worry, as he has already taken care of everything. Somewhere else, Katsuragi becomes angry and questions why our boy is pushing so much work onto him. He uses his fire magic to finish a few magical beasts while protecting the students. He assures the female student to just stop worrying and follow him as he would protect everyone with everything he has. The students calm down hearing his words and start cheering for him. He looks at the army of beasts and wonders how he's supposed to protect the students against all of this. Kusanagi appears out of nowhere and offers his help. Katsuragi begs him not to appear like this again as he scared the guy. Our boy instructs him to leave the place as soon as he takes care of all the monsters, but Katsuragi is worried. He believes defeating such a huge army of monsters is nearly impossible, so it is better if they just change their route. The protagonist uses his non-attribute magic and kills all the monsters, including the demon soldiers, instantly with barely any effort. Everyone is left speechless, but he reminds Katsuragi to guide the students out of this mess and start moving. Katsuragi understands his words and orders everyone to follow him. The students observe the magic bullets while running away. Katsuragi anxiously smiles as he realizes how strong the protagonist really is. Once they all leave, our boy decides to go inside the school again and search for more students who are in danger. Somewhere else, the teacher motivates the students to keep going and not give up so they can continue to push back the monsters. Yuika starts feeling tired, but Ruka appears from behind and advises her to just go inside and rest since she will be a burden if she can't fight. Yuika assures her she will keep fighting determinedly as they don't have any time to rest. Katsuragi finally reaches the gymnasium with the rescued students. The teacher praises him and orders him to lead everyone inside. Katsuragi asks about the situation. Ruka disappointingly tells him they are barely holding their ground. Yuika worriedly asks about Kusanagi, but the guy assures her our boy is still alive and good. She becomes relieved and starts smiling. Katsuragi admits Kusanagi is awesome and holds a lot of strength. He believes they might be able to overcome the calamity with him by their side. Yuika agrees with him as she also thinks the same. Suddenly the ground starts shaking. All the students become terrified, and the teacher quickly tells everyone to evacuate. A huge army of strong monsters appears from the smoke. Katsuragi notices the demon soldiers between them as well. He admits there is no chance they can do anything, as the army of beasts is just too huge, so they need to escape quickly. The strong monsters of the second stage start chasing the students. Yuika tries to run towards safety but almost gets eaten by a magical beast. Someone kills the monster and saves Yuika. It's the police department. Shido quickly orders his men to eliminate the beasts, and the police do everything they can to protect the civilians. The students breathe a sigh of relief seeing the police, thinking they're finally safe. Shido assures them not to worry anymore as the police are here. He orders them to follow instructions and carefully evacuate the school, but Yuika steps forward, telling him the students are ready to fight as well. Shido repeats his words, but Yuika clarifies that they aren't civilians. Ruka joins her and adds that they are mages. Shido understands their words and requests backup. He orders them to start attacking from the rear. He admits they're low on numbers, so they really need the mages' help. He's frustrated, wishing the police weren't so useless. Sanada uses her healing magic to help the injured students. The protagonist notices the police have finally arrived and decides to leave everything to them. He's surprised to see the police arrive before the self-defense troops. It's crazy to think the country doesn't have any plans or precautions for a national-level disaster. He thinks this is a good lesson for the people who take peace for granted, but he decides to keep moving forward to help save the remaining students. The news reporter announces that the police have arrived, but the monsters are multiplying faster than ever. She wonders if the police can handle the calamity and hopes the mage nobles will show up to resolve the situation. A few students watching the news get excited at the thought of seeing the nobles in action. An elderly couple recalls that they've paid all their taxes, so the mage nobles should handle this. The reporter hopes they arrive soon. Inside a mansion, a noble tells his butler to ignore the calamity. He's Fuka-jin, the head of the Fuka household, a mage noble. The butler asks again to make sure, and Fuka insists it's just a small-scale calamity. The police should be able to handle it. The butler asks where Fuka is going, and the mage noble decides to go to sleep. The butler wishes him a restful night. Back at the school, Shido realizes the situation is getting out of control. He asks one of his men if they can handle the magical beasts at the entrance, but the answer is no. There are just too many of them. Shido sees the number of beasts growing and wonders if they can save the civilians in time. The self-defense troops are supposed to handle the rear, but they still haven't arrived. There's no choice but to contact the mage nobles, but it's strange. He can't get in touch with them. They're supposed to be the ones for this, yet they're useless. As the students help the police fight the monsters, Shido recalls everything he's learned about calamities. He wonders if the people 50 years ago dealt with it the same way. He hopes the boss doesn't show up. Suddenly, the number of monsters escalates, and a huge purple beam of light fills the area. A demon captain appears, sending everyone into a panic. Shido can't believe it. It's a demon captain, their boss. Ruka remembers that the demon captain is a rare beast that rarely shows up in this era. Only mage nobles can defeat it. Yuika realizes they need magic stronger than level 5, and she starts to panic, crying because there's no one who can cast such high-level magic. The demon captain unleashes its power and summons multiple magic circles. Yuika freezes in terror. Ruka steps in, using all her strength to deflect the attack, but her power isn't enough. She throws herself in front of Yuika as a shield. The demon captain's attack hits her hard, but she manages to protect Yuika. The younger girl watches in horror as her sister is injured. The students run away while Yuika stays behind, trying desperately to save Ruka. Shido and his men are powerless against the monsters, calling out for help. Katsuragi uses everything he has, but the demon captain doesn't budge. The police admit they can't save anyone and give up, accepting their fate. Yuika continues to cry out for help, calling the protagonist's name. As the demon captain moves closer, someone voices their irritation. Finally, the protagonist arrives, apologizing for being late. He feels bad for making the girl wait. Yuika tells him about her sister with a worried face, but he assures her and says she has just passed out. He quickly heals her wounds and grits his teeth in frustration as he observes the damage the monsters have done. He assures the girl not to worry, as he's about to clean up the whole mess. She puts her faith in him, Suddenly, multiple magic circles appear, and all the injured students start getting healed. Yuika observes her older sister's wounds disappearing and becomes astonished as the injured students wake up. Sanada notices the magic while healing people. She's surprised to see third-level holy magic and admits that even she can't use it. She wonders who is behind this. Sanada finds her senior and asks if he's doing okay. The guy assures her that he isn't injured, just ran out of magic power. She questions what is going on. Shido doesn't understand it himself, but believes they should focus on protecting the civilians. Sanada starts crying and tries to stop him, saying it's too reckless. But he's determined to fight, knowing that if he doesn't, everyone is going to lose their lives. Sanada stops him again and tells him there's no chance they can win since everyone is already dead. She points out that the police have already been defeated. Since the defense troops and magic nobles are still not here, he has to admit there's nothing they can do anymore. As the demon captain moves forward, the news reporter finds out the whole police department has been defeated. She becomes hopeless and thinks they are about to die. The students watching the news call the nobles completely useless and hope they don't die. The people watch the news carefully and learn there is no one who can defeat the demon captain. The protagonist approaches the demon captain all by himself. Sanada notices him and wonders if he has a death wish. Shido tries to warn him, but our boy ignores their words. Kusanagi is here to stop the monster from doing whatever it wants. The demon captain terrifyingly expresses its desire to kill and destroy. Everyone becomes scared, and a few students almost piss their pants. Shido and Sanada are unable to move from the fear and pressure, but the boy remains unfazed. He throws an attack and tells the monster to shut its mouth. The demon captain starts screaming out of rage, and all the monsters follow its lead as it pulls out huge magic circles and starts attacking the protagonist. He remembers going all out the last time he was facing the calamity. Our boy knows everyone around him will die if he does that again, so he decides to hold back to avoid involving the people. The monster's attacks hit him hard. Shido believes he got killed, but as the attacks almost reach the students, our boy pulls out his shields and shoots out multiple magic bullets to push back the army of monsters. Shido becomes shocked and wonders who he even is. The news reporter finds out a student is fighting the monsters alone. She decides to go closer since they can't see his face. The camera blows up suddenly. Yuika smiles as she knows the protagonist was doing his best to not reveal his identity. She believes he can go all out without distractions now. As the boy shoots out magic bullets persistently, the students finally see hope and start cheering for his victory. A few magical beasts sneak up from behind and almost attack the students, but Shido kills them and decides to support Kusanagi from behind, as that's the only thing they can do right now. Our boy smiles as he sees the hard-working police. He praises them and admits they aren't as bad as he thought. He keeps shooting the magic bullets. The demon captain screams and summons multiple magic circles. It starts going all out and summons 6th level magic, surprising Shido. He thinks they're doomed since its strong magic is on par with the nobles, and there is no hope left for them. The demon captain uses 6th level dragon flames, and the whole place gets engulfed by flames. Everyone tries to save themselves as a huge tornado of fire slowly eats up the whole place. Shido tries to protect his partner, Sanada, but the students become hopeless, accepting that they're all about to die. Sanada asks God for help, hoping at least the students can survive. Shido doubts any student, no matter how strong, can beat the demon captain. He doesn't believe Kusanagi stands a chance. Yuika, however, puts all her faith in the protagonist. She believes in him with every cell of her body, convinced he can definitely win. As the huge attack heads toward him, Kusanagi notices it's slow. He realizes it's because the demon captain is forcing itself to use 6th level magic. He admits there's no way he can face it with just 2nd level magic. So, despite his desire to avoid standing out, he decides to use more power. Kusanagi summons 4 magic circles and begins using the water attribute. Yuika smiles and starts cheering for him. The water turns into a massive serpent, and Shido is amazed, wondering if this is synthesis magic. The water and fire attacks clash, with Kusanagi starting to overpower the demon captain. But the demon captain refuses to back down, pushing harder, yelling its desire to kill and destroy the human race. The fire magic intensifies, but Kusanagi puts in a little more power, and after some struggle, the demon captain realizes it's about to die. The monster questions how it was defeated by a mere kid. Kusanagi calmly replies that it's because of the demon captain's lack of training. He'd hoped for a better fight, but is disappointed to learn it was weaker than expected. The sky finally returns to normal. Kusanagi smiles, relieved that the calamity is over now that he's defeated the final boss. The students are in shock, finding it hard to believe Kusanagi defeated the demon captain. They all get up and begin celebrating. Even the news reporter and cameraman join in, finally feeling safe. Sanada comforts a student, assuring her that it's safe now, as the calamity is over. Shido stares at Kusanagi, calling it impossible. He doesn't understand how a student could stop the calamity alone. He doubts even the nobles could have defeated the demon captain with 6th level magic and wonders who Kusanagi really is. His legs give out from overexertion. Kusanagi finds Yuika and tells her he's ended everything. She smiles and says she always believed in him, thanking him. This brings a smile to his face. Suddenly, the students surround him, praising him for what he did. They all show their gratitude, but Kusanagi, irritated, asks them to step back. He regrets standing out like this, just like in his past life, and hopes he won't have to live an annoying life from here on. Yuika notices how annoyed he looks. The announcement comes. The calamity at Kamui Magic Academy has been stopped. The academy refuses to share details about the boy who defeated the boss monster single-handedly. No casualties were reported, though several people were injured. Kusanagi's classmates show him the news. He becomes annoyed, but they think it's only natural for him to appear as the mighty savior. Kusanagi gets promoted to S class as well, and his old classmates feel bad, realizing they can't talk to him the same way anymore. A few female students ask about the secret behind his strength, assuming he might have inherited the blood of a great noble mage. An S-class student observes how annoyed Kusanagi looks due to all the attention. He doubts such a strong student really exists. Kusanagi's classmates defend him, confirming that he did defeat the demon captain all by himself. The S-class student remains unconvinced, thinking it sounds wrong no matter how you look at it. Kusanagi uses this chance to leave the class, feeling relieved as he steps out. Yuika finds him and asks if he's having a hard time, grinning mischievously. He doesn't want to be teased, but she keeps talking. She thinks this is natural since he's the mighty savior who protected the whole school. Kusanagi remembers that Yuika was also promoted to S-class, a result of her efforts during the calamity, but she doesn't seem too happy about it. When he asks, she assures him she's happy, but it's because there's someone else in the S-class. Suddenly, Kusanagi remembers Ruka and asks if she's doing any better. Yuika answers positively and points out that they've been talking more than before. Kusanagi thinks it's a good thing, and Yuika feels happy about it too. She thanks him for everything, expressing her gratitude. Out of nowhere, Kusanagi lightly taps her head, causing her to get embarrassed and ask what's wrong. He clarifies that he doesn't want her thanking him over and over. Once is enough. Yuika starts smiling. At a conference, a man finishes his teleconference with other countries. They're aware that getting support for the next calamity will be hard since they're already overwhelmed with measures and plans. One of them mentions the news about the student defeating the boss monster. The others explain that it was a strange situation, and even the police department was completely defeated. They assume it might be a misunderstanding and expect other nations to be skeptical as well. The man orders his men to bring back the noble mages to prepare for the next calamity. On the school roof, Ruka and Katsuragi meet Kusanagi and Yuika. They all stare at each other for a moment. Ruka then shares her desire to ask Kusanagi something. She wants him to make her his disciple. A few days later, Ruka sits down with her sister and starts a chat. She remembers the calamity was stopped by the protagonist. Her sister confirms this and reminds her that Kusanagi is the one who defeated the demon captain, using 4-level synthesis magic to do so. Ruka is astonished to hear this. She remembers that even high-level mages are not capable of using such power. Yuika assures her she's telling the truth, and Ruka trusts her little sister's words, deciding to believe it as she starts smiling. Yuika wonders why her older sister thinks she doesn't tell lies. Ruka recalls that Yuika has always been a straightforward kid, still obedient, never lying, gentle, but also hardworking. She finally accepts that her little sister isn't talentless and admits that she was the one being stubborn. Yuika realizes her sister is just worried about her, stands up with determination, and assures her big sis that she is going to become really strong and put her at ease so that she doesn't have to worry about it for now. Ruka listens to her sister carefully and realizes how much she has grown. Yuika hears her praise and starts smiling uncontrollably. Ruka is aware that no student comes near Kusanagi, and she guesses even her father might be weaker than him. She requests Yuika's help, knowing that if she just goes with the flow, she will only become a high-class mage at best. So she definitely needs Kusanagi's help to properly get stronger. Meanwhile, in the present, Ruka apologizes for all the rudeness. She's really sorry for looking down on them. She's already aware of how absurd and selfish her request is, but she wants to swallow her pride and be straightforward. Ruka hopes he can make her his disciple. Our boy agrees, which surprises her. He confirms that he is willing to make her a disciple, but she doesn't understand why he's being so nice. He calls her a weirdo for making a request and then acting this way. She knows he's right but doesn't understand why he's still being so kind, especially after she did such horrible things to him. He makes it clear that he has already accepted her apology and forgiven her, so that's all there is to it. She is left speechless. Katsuragi uses this opportunity to make the same request. The protagonist agrees, since it isn't really that hard to teach two people, and the guy is happy to hear this. Yuika tells her older sister that her friend is just really kind. Katsuragi calls him mysterious as well. Later that day, the protagonist gets called to the conference room. Shido introduces himself as a member of the Metropolitan Police Department from the Beast Countermeasures Division. Sanada introduces herself as well. They both bow their heads and show gratitude, admitting that without his assistance, both the civilians and their teammates would have been killed instantly. Kusanagi wonders if they need anything else and assures them to stop thanking him, as they've been constantly showing their gratitude for a while now. He believes it is enough. Shido informs him that the investigation is already over, but there is something that grabbed his attention. Kusanagi wonders what it is. Shido shares that he learned our boy got his mage powers after getting involved in some kind of traffic accident. His classmates and the people around him are saying the same thing. But one student even said the protagonist turned into a whole new person after the car accident. Kusanagi remains silent and listens to the investigation. Shido learned that his personality changed completely, and out of nowhere, his magic power became extremely strong as well. So strong that he was effortlessly able to defeat a demon captain. Yuika requests him to stop and questions what he's trying to say. Shido decides to change the question and asks if he knows anything about someone called the Black Magician. Our boy doesn't recognize the name, but the guy shows him a video and elaborates that the Black Magician is someone who defeated magical beasts and cleaned the area while protecting people. He keeps his face hidden and only comes out at night. Shido is surprised he didn't watch such a famous video. The protagonist understands what they are trying to say. Yuika intervenes and questions why he's telling all of this to Kusanagi. Shido answers with a smile, saying they are both similar, not just in age, but in size and height as well. Shido learned that the Black Magician is a strong and capable individual. He doubts any students around his age are capable of such feats. The other weird thing is that the Black Magician started his activities at the same time our boy got discharged from the hospital. Since it is completely illegal to use magic in the city without a real permit or qualification, if a student gets caught using it, then the academy will have to handle most of it. But since it has gotten so much public attention recently, there's no choice left for the police, so they had to get involved and take action. Shido makes it clear that just expulsion won't be enough, but if the protagonist confesses, they are willing to do him a favor and lessen his punishment. So, he needs to answer carefully. Shido asks once more if he is the Black Magician. Kusanagi answers negatively with zero expression on his face. Shido looks relieved and smiles, happy to hear that our boy is not the Black Magician. The guy thanks him for everything and decides to leave for now. As he leaves the room, Shido is surprised that our boy didn't show a single expression. He praises his courage to lie so openly if he really is the Black Magician. He admits Kusanagi is nothing like a normal student and believes he is hiding something. Sanada already knows Kusanagi is the Black Magician since their voices are similar. She wonders if his intentions were purely to save people that night. Sanada decides to keep his identity hidden, even though she knows this can be counted as a failure for a policeman. She believes the protagonist is a kind person. Shido decides to try his best to reveal the Black Magician's identity, while Sanada thinks about keeping it hidden and helping the guy however she can. After a while, the homeroom teacher of the S-class introduces both Mizuha Yuika and Kusanagi Minato to the whole class. She hopes the other students can get along with them. The students start asking if he really is the one who defeated the demon captain. The girls ask Yuika how she feels being a noble mage. The teacher advises everyone to sit down as the class is about to begin. She is surprised to see how famous both new students are. Kusanagi had to answer questions all day, and he feels horrible. He remembers this is the reason he was trying to keep his identity hidden. He hears someone call him from behind. Our boy looks back and finds the girl he saved earlier standing in front of him. She hopes he doesn't mind giving her a little bit of his time. As the boy finds himself on the rooftop again, he wonders if it is some kind of norm to always go to the top whenever you have to talk about something. Yuika follows him and looks at what's happening from behind a wall. She was hoping she could get some private training in and wonders why he is on the rooftop. She feels a bit jealous seeing him alone with a girl and tries to see what they're trying to do. The girl asks if he still remembers her, but our boy says he doesn't. She reminds him he's the one who saved her during the calamity, and he finally remembers who she is. The girl recalls that she was about to die because of the magical beasts at the combat lesson, but then somebody used their magic and saved her. She believes the one behind that magic attack was also Kusanagi. He remembers it, and she starts thanking him for saving her life. He doesn't mind it and says he just did what he could. The girl starts blushing and calls him cool. Yuika tries her best to listen to what they are saying, but she is barely able to hear anything. The girl reveals her feelings and says she is in love with our boy. She hopes he goes on a date with her. Yuika is shocked to learn she is confessing her feelings. The protagonist barely looks surprised. She knows she doesn't have many positive things, but she assures him she will do her best, so she hopes he can make her his girlfriend. Kusanagi smiles and thanks the girl for the confession. She starts smiling, but he continues to talk and says he is sorry. Her smile drops instantly. He politely tells her he doesn't have any time to start dating anyone since he has to do something very important. She understands his reasoning and tries to smile again. She is glad he was straightforward with her and decides to give up on him now. The girl leaves the rooftop with tears in her eyes. Kusanagi advises Yuika to stop hiding and just come out. She gets caught and comes out with an awkward smile. She thought she hid her mana well this time and wonders how he noticed. He calls her mana control horrible and lets her know it is literally spilling everywhere. This is the second time he caught her sneaking around like this. He wonders if she has a peeping fetish. Yuika embarrassingly tells him she just came at the wrong time. She wasn't hoping to listen to anything. She asks why he rejected such a cute and pretty girl. Kusanagi makes it clear that he doesn't want to date anyone right now. She is surprised, but he thinks he is just too far apart in age, even though he is physically in the same school year as them. Yuika starts feeling glad as she learns he doesn't want to go out with anyone. She doesn't understand why she feels so relieved to hear that he isn't planning on dating anyone. She looks at him with a concerned face. Kusanagi advises her to start working on her mana control as it is completely horrible. He believes she needs a lot more practice. She assures him she is aware and becomes determined to work as hard as she can to surpass her current strength so that someday he can finally acknowledge her. During nighttime, the protagonist reaches another area filled with monsters. He wonders if a new calamity is going to appear since they keep increasing. He hears a girl scream for help. A man uses his magic illegally to harass a girl. He tells her it is pointless to scream since there is no one around. Kusanagi intervenes and shows the guy there is still someone around. The thug becomes surprised, but our boy doesn't give him any time and quickly punches his stomach. He uses his magic to knock the guy unconscious. He learns it is just an amateur mage and a thug, but his close combat skills are horrible. He guesses the guy isn't used to fighting mages. The girl he saved thanks him and questions if he is the black mage. He becomes annoyed and quickly leaves while ignoring her words. Kusanagi realizes the black mage all the students and the policeman mentioned was him all along. He doesn't understand how he became so popular. The next day, while eating with his friends, the protagonist talks about the black mage. He remembers Shido talked about an amateur mage who only comes out at night. He heard many people talk about it, so he is just curious. Katsuragi guesses it is because the black mage has gotten really popular on the internet. Our boy asks what the internet is with an innocent face. He wonders if it is something similar to a fishing net. Everyone is shocked to hear this. They all wonder if he is crazy. In this era, it's hard for them to believe he doesn't know about something like the internet. They understand he is very isolated and lives under a rock, but this is worse than what they were expecting. Yuika explains the internet is an information network that covers the whole globe. Anyone can share any kind of information on it, so things like the black mage spread instantly. People can also find anything there, and since it has pictures and videos, it practically holds everything. Kusanagi finally understands it. Katsuragi helps him understand he can access any kind of information on his smartphone. He asks the boy to pull it out and try opening a random application. Kusanagi's face brightens up, and he smiles uncontrollably as he finally opens a search engine. They all praise him and explain he can use the internet to see anything now. Our boy calls it easy. Ruka remembers he promised to help them train. She is wondering when they begin their training. Kusanagi agrees on training them once the school ends, as they also helped him learn how to use a smartphone. He thinks about doing his best to train them well. Yuika expects something bad will happen as she hears his words. During their training, all three of them get tired and fall to the ground. Kusanagi is disappointed as they haven't even warmed up yet. He wants them to train like their life depends on it. They all get up once more and assure him they won't go down so easily. He is glad to hear this and orders them to come attack him with everything they have. They pull out their magic circles and follow his orders. Somewhere else, near the Tokyo Tower, a few men remember everything was completely normal a few seconds ago as they both observe the red sky. They both become terrified and wonder what's happening. A huge army of monsters filled with multiple demon soldiers and demon captains appear. As they all continue their training, all three of them fall back down. He asks if they have given up already. Ruka and Katsuragi attack him at once, determinedly telling him they haven't given up yet. He uses a barrier to protect himself and shoots his magic bullets to defeat them with zero effort. They both get hurt, but Yuika sneaks up from behind and tries to catch him off guard. He is easily able to dodge her and again uses the same attack to defeat Yuika as well. Kusanagi announces break time and lets all of them rest for a little bit. They are all relieved as they can finally catch their breath. Yuika drinks some water while Katsuragi points out that the protagonist is just too overpowered. Ruka agrees with him and is surprised that even a top student can't come close to his strength. Yuika confirms it as well and believes he is different from all the students. She observes his face and finds his usual annoyed look again. Kusanagi reveals he almost lost his life in a car accident, and when he finally opened his eyes, he had obtained these mysterious powers. He doesn't know the reason either, so he orders them to stop bothering him about it. Ruka understands he unlocked his powers on the brink of death and wonders if it triggered something inside him. Yuika is able to see right through the guy. She knows why he's making those expressions and is disappointed to see how gullible the other two are. She believes there is a good reason behind why he doesn't want to tell anyone the truth since he is trying so hard to hide it. She decides to forget about it for now. Kusanagi is able to fool them easily and feels glad they're gullible. They finally end the training session as the sun starts setting. Katsuragi calls it a great training session. Our boy calls him tough as he observes his attitude. Katsuragi guesses it is because he used to train alone before this. He feels really hungry and shares that he has to go back home and cook food. The protagonist is surprised to hear that he cooks food himself. He didn't expect the guy to be like this, judging by his appearance. Katsuragi gets a bit angry as he hears such harsh words. He asks if the protagonist always goes outside to eat. He answers that he just lives on cup noodles, which surprises the guy. Kusanagi is surprised to learn how convenient the new world is. His friend warns him about such unhealthy habits and points out that his body won't survive like this. The protagonist feels a bit weird seeing how concerned he is. Katsuragi grabs him and decides to take the guy to his place so they can eat together. Our boy tries to resist, but he doesn't leave and drags him away. Kusanagi smiles and feels glad to have such a friend. As they both reach his apartment, our boy ends up getting stuck with the kids while Katsuragi cooks food for all of them. He apologizes after he's done cooking, but notices the protagonist taking care of them using magic. The protagonist assures him not to worry. He uses magic to create bubbles for the kids. Katsuragi calls him an idiot for his behavior and advises him not to use magic in his apartment. The guy is surprised to see magic can be used for such things. The little kid comforts our boy after he gets scolded. Katsuragi is shocked to learn he is really good at taking care of kids. The protagonist suddenly remembers the calamity in his past life. He calls kids precious. Katsuragi calls him an old man for how he sounds, but our boy orders him to shut his mouth. He starts enjoying as he helps the kids read a book. They all start eating together and thank God for the food. The kids happily eat the delicious meals. The protagonist tries it and is surprised to find out how good it is. He gets teary as he tries to remember the last time he had a good meal. He regrets not taking care of himself because he was focusing on fighting for a very long time. Kusanagi asks his friend about his parents. The guy shares he doesn't have a father. Since his mother has to work till late at night, he is the one who does the household work and takes care of the kids. He even has to do a part-time job when he is free. Kusanagi is shocked to hear his routine, but the guy assures him he likes taking care of his family. The protagonist understands it and remembers he is a complete musclehead who likes challenging stuff. They all end up sleeping together. He apologizes to Kusanagi for having him sleep at their house because of the selfish kids. He doesn't mind it and feels good doing such a thing for a change of pace. Katsuragi is relieved and shows his gratitude. The protagonist doesn't understand why he's thanking him, but the guy elaborates that it is about Ruka. She looks happier these days, and he believes it is all thanks to Kusanagi. Our boy wonders if this is something related to love. He asks the guy if he holds feelings for Ruka, but Katsuragi answers negatively. He shares they are both misfits who don't get along well with others, so they naturally became great friends. Kusanagi finds it similar to his situation. The next day, both Kusanagi and his friend walk together towards school. Yuika frustratingly wonders why they're so late. Katsuragi shares that the protagonist kept sleeping. They both find out the boys had a sleepover together. Yuika gets jealous and asks if they did training together. Kusanagi wonders why they're meeting like it is natural. He admits he is enjoying it. Shido appears with Sanada and requests our boy to give him a few minutes. The protagonist is annoyed to see them again. Shido apologizes for disturbing the guy again but reveals it is something urgent. Sanada explains beasts are suddenly appearing out of nowhere near the Tokyo Tower. She believes it is something related to the calamity, so they want to request Kusanagi's cooperation in the matter. He tries to avoid it as he is just a student, but Shido doesn't think it is right to call someone like him a student, since he is capable of stopping calamities all by himself. He tries to be straightforward and shares it's too much for the police to handle, which is why they need his assistance. Kusanagi asks if it is okay for them to reveal such stuff, but Shido tells him they have no choice since they've been completely cornered. He formally requests the protagonist to help them face the monsters. Kusanagi agrees with them. He was hoping to avoid standing out, but the situation keeps getting worse. Shido promises he will get proper compensation and that he doesn't have to contact the academy. Yuika and her friends decide to help as well. Ruka is confident they can provide support from the rear, and Katsuragi agrees with them. Shido thanks them for their effort but refuses to let them come along, as it is just not possible. Ruka tries to convince him, but Shido doesn't believe they are capable of fighting in a real battle since they are just the top students of their academy. He asks if any of them come close to Kusanagi's level. They all become ashamed and speechless. Shido advises them to head toward the academy while he invites Kusanagi to come with him. The protagonist hopes his friends can someday catch up to him, and they all become motivated, confidently answering that they will. At the police headquarters, our boy ends up being involved in a conference. A man explains that hundreds of magical beasts are appearing close to the Tokyo Tower, and they need to quickly form a plan and take action before any civilians get hurt. He shares that they even have a student on their side who played a huge role in the previous calamity that happened recently at the Magic Academy. He asks the protagonist to stand up. He follows the guy's instructions, and some men talk about him behind his back. One of them doesn't understand why a literal kid is involved in their business. The other guy explains that Kusanagi is the one who finished off the demon captain all by himself during the last calamity. He calls it bullcrap since it's hard to believe. Sanada feels embarrassed. Shido speaks up and tells everyone that Kusanagi really is the student who stopped the calamity and even defeated the demon captain all by himself. Shido gives his word, as he saw everything happening from up close. He believes there is no one on the same power level as the protagonist. Since our boy was involved in the calamity that happened after 50 years, Shido thinks it is a good decision to have him cooperate with them. He hopes everyone will treat the boy as their partner instead of a student. The men still don't believe it and think he's just a mere student acting all high and mighty, even though he's in a place filled with so many professionals. The leader tells them their goal is still the same, even with a new face among them. He orders them to immediately take action and kill the monsters. As everyone leaves, Shido finds the boy and apologizes for what he had to listen to. Kusanagi thinks it's okay and guesses his arrival just put them in a bad mood. Shido is surprised by his maturity and realizes he should focus on Sanada instead. She starts sobbing and tells him she was just too terrified to stop the men. Kusanagi assures her not to worry, as he doesn't give a shit about what a few men have to say about him. She starts smiling and calls him a wonderful person. As they all drive toward the Tokyo Tower, Kusanagi asks about the approximate combat power they have right now. The policeman answers that they have 80 mages. Only a few among them are high rank, while the rest are just middle rank mages. Our boy knows middle rank mages are capable of using level 2 magic, while the high rank ones can use up to level 3. Shido admits it sounds very pitiful, but the protagonist is the strongest mage among everyone since he is capable of using level 4 synthesis magic. Kusanagi asks if they will follow some kind of plan, but Shido disappointingly tells him it is going to be a magic battle, purely so they can't follow any kind of plans. He believes they can win easily if they only face demon soldiers and magical beasts, but anyone higher than the demon captain will require proper planning and countermeasures because they have high intelligence and immense power. Shido doubts such a straightforward battle plan is worthy of being called a combat strategy. Kusanagi points out that he hasn't noticed any special equipment anywhere so far that could defeat monsters. The policeman shares that they don't have anything that stands a chance against magic and beasts, which is why they just wear clothes that are easy to move in, or suits whenever they enter any sort of battle. The protagonist remembers they used to have anti-beast equipment, but Shido answers there is barely any left right now, and it has become very rare. Only the mage nobles have such equipment. Kusanagi is shocked to learn this, as he remembers such magic equipment used to be common around his time. He understands the usage of magic and mages declined because of peaceful times, but this much change is just absurd. He becomes curious about what happened during the past 50 years. Shido observes his expressions carefully, wondering what he's thinking about. They all finally reach the Tokyo Tower. Kusanagi finds out there is no calamity going on, but the number of monsters appearing is abnormal. He wonders what is going on. The trash-talking policemen from earlier are shocked by the numbers as well. They didn't get informed about this in the report, and as they both spot a demon captain among the monsters, they become completely hopeless and decide to seek support from special organizations or noble mages since it's out of their hands. Shido assures them he has already called for backup, but it's not going to arrive so quickly. Since the number of beasts keeps increasing and illegal mage activities are happening more than before, the organizations already have too much on their plates. The policemen ask if they don't have any other choice but to face such strong monsters themselves. They believe it's a suicide mission and become hesitant. Shido has no choice left, so he swallows his pride and requests the protagonist for help. He asks if they can be defeated. Our boy answers positively. The trash talkers start doubting him, and it's hard for them to believe a random brat can win against so many monsters. Kusanagi notices something weird, and they wonder what he's on about. As the monsters become more active, suddenly the sky changes its color and turns red. Sanada and the other policemen realize a calamity is about to happen. Shido gives a message to every single post from the police headquarters that a calamity has appeared across Japan. As the civilians start getting attacked by magical beasts, Shido repeats his words that a calamity has occurred. He orders everyone to make people their priority and save civilians from any harm. Since they're stuck dealing with it in an urban area, they need to take countermeasures quickly. Shido and his men are worried to see what's happening, but our boy remains unfazed. The policemen see the calamity appearing again and become terrified. They question why it's happening. The protagonist knows a calamity is a natural phenomenon, but he notices this one is happening because of the magical beasts from earlier. He doesn't know how they caused it, but wonders if they learned a new way to create one in the last 50 years. Shidu's men tell him they can't fight a losing battle with no backup. They need to reorganize first. The calamity starts moving, and the beasts begin heading toward the city area filled with civilians. The policemen start arguing with each other. Some believe it is going to harm the civilians, so they don't have a choice but to go and defeat the monsters. The other policemen call it a suicide mission and believe they can't win. Someone comments that the police have become pitiful, which angers the guy who doesn't want to go. He makes it clear that they just can't win against so many magical beasts. Kusanagi jumps off the building while telling everyone they can definitely win. He smiles and starts using his magic circles to head toward the monsters. He lands between them, and as the monsters notice him, they all begin rushing toward him to attack. The policemen warn him to quickly run, or else he's going to lose his life. Kusanagi pulls out third-level magic called Wind Cutter, leaving everyone speechless. The monsters die instantly, but a few demon soldiers become active. They throw multiple attacks toward our boy, but he remains unscathed because of his shields. Since the barrier ends up being very useful, he decides to put one up for the bystanders, so no one gets hurt during the calamity. As he cuts through more monsters, Shidu is astonished by his strength. He doesn't believe someone is capable of using several magic attributes at once. He guesses only Kusanagi can do such things. The guy orders everyone to move forward and follow our boy. Sanada starts running to provide proper backup. The other policemen tremble in fear, but since they can't just run away, they all get fired up and run toward the battlefield. The policemen begin fighting against the monsters. The protagonist is surprised by their capabilities. The demon captain appears from the crowd of monsters. A policeman notices and becomes hopeless, since only a legendary class mage can defeat such a monstrosity. Kusanagi pulls out the water serpent again and assures the policemen they can leave the demon captain to him while they all handle the rest. In mere seconds, he defeats the demon captain, leaving everyone shocked. They admit he is very powerful. Shidu orders everyone to continue fighting until the boss monster appears. He orders them to handle the rest while Kusanagi can take care of the demon captain and anything stronger than that. As the protagonist fights the monsters, he remembers the worldwide calamity that appeared 60 years ago, which was the first calamity. After that event, calamities became common and kept showing up again and again, continuing to destroy the world. He doesn't want what happened 60 years ago to repeat itself since the calamity will just spread worldwide. He is glad to be here and is determined to stop the calamity from destroying the human race. Sanada gets attacked by a demon soldier, but the protagonist intervenes and instantly kills it. She remembers it is the same as that night. He asks if she's fine. Sanada thanks him and tries getting up. He realizes it is the same situation as before. He becomes worried and anxiously questions if she found out. Sanada doesn't understand why he became the Black Mage. She wonders how strong he is but doesn't want him to hate her for asking weird questions. She blushes and tries to stop herself from thinking anything weird since he is just a student. Sanada gets attacked again, but Kusanagi protects her from the danger and advises her to be more careful. She apologizes. He requests that she stay by his side so he can protect her. He notices she isn't capable of using combat magic. Sanada starts blushing again and follows his instructions. She questions if he really is a student since he sounds more like an adult compared to her. Out of nowhere, all the police mages feel an immense pressure. They start trembling in fear and wonder what's happening. A monster emerges from the light. Shidu notices it is the subspecies of a demon captain. He questions why such a higher species of demon captain is appearing now. The policemen realize their victory is impossible. They doubt even mage nobles can win against such a strong monster. Kusanagi steps forward. They try to stop him from getting hurt, as they don't think he can defeat it no matter how strong he might be. Kusanagi tells them he'll win. The guys stop trembling so much. Sanada starts praying for Kusanagi's victory. Shidu knows he holds the same strength as the mage nobles, so there is a good chance he might win against the subspecies as well. As the monster comes face to face with the protagonist, Shidu becomes excited to finally see our boy's true strength. Shidu orders everyone to keep giving it their all until the boss monster finally dies. Kusanagi confronts the new demon captain. It starts attacking and throws fire magic at him. The policemen can't believe how strong the monster is as they see it destroying multiple things with level 1 magic. Our boy doesn't get scratched at all. The monster wonders what he even is. Kusanagi answers that he is just a student. He starts using his water serpent again. The demon captain becomes determined to kill our boy and unleashes a huge fire serpent. The policemen notice that it is level 6 magic and become hopeless. Kusanagi knows that if he avoids the attack or just blocks it with his magic, there is a chance his allies might get engulfed in all the fire, so he wonders what he should do next. All the beasts start gathering around suddenly. The police are confused. But as they all attack Kusanagi, Sanada tries to warn him. He remains unfazed despite seeing multiple strong attacks coming his way. He destroys the demon captain's fire serpent with his water attribute and blocks the magical beast's attacks with his non-attribute shields. Water starts pouring down. The protagonist is a bit underwhelmed as he realizes it is already over. Shido's jaw drops, seeing how strong our boy is. Sanada doesn't understand what just happened. Shido, still in shock, holds his head as he sees unimaginable things happening in front of him. Only a mage noble can use level 6 magic since it is an advanced technique on a similar level as remote activation. Sanada asks if Kusanagi really did all that. Shido shares an even more surprising thing he just witnessed. The protagonist just used a second type of magic at the same time while facing the demon captain. Usually there is a buffer time whenever someone uses 2 magic spells, but Kusanagi just used them at the same time. Even a single type of magic is hard to control, so using 2 simultaneously makes the protagonist stronger than even the noble mages. Shido is happy to see everything went as he expected. He believes he has found the person he always wanted, the new Ichikami Minato. The protagonist advises the demon captain to follow him so they can fight somewhere else, as it is too stuffy here. The demon captain starts using level 1 aerial magic and flies away. As it moves somewhere else, it admits it is a bit surprised that it knows how to use aerial magic. The demon captain thinks he had to move so he doesn't get any sort of cooperation from its army. The boy clarifies he doesn't feel fazed by the shitty cooperation from other beasts. With a cold expression, he reveals they moved so he doesn't have to hold back anymore. The demon captain moves forward and attacks him, but our boy easily dodges all the attacks coming his way. He uses his arms to block a few blows. The demon captain uses the opportunity to throw fire magic. It hits the boy directly, but the monster hits him again and slams him on the ground without wasting a second. As the smoke clears, Kusanagi comes out unfazed, leaving the demon captain shocked. He moves forward to attack it and knows it resorted to hand-to-hand combat because its magic is completely useless against him. He calls the demon captain's efforts useless and makes it clear it can't land a strike on him while punching its head really hard. The demon captain goes flying away but saves itself by summoning a magic circle. It doubts his punch can do anything since he is just a mere human, but suddenly its whole body starts trembling. The demon captain doesn't understand how strong he is. It gets mad and questions who he even is. Kusanagi smiles and lets it know magic isn't the only thing he can use. He decides to show the demon captain a technique he created himself. The protagonist smiles and unleashes his powers. The demon captain becomes amazed. Shido and Sanada feel the pressure and notice there is something above them. Kusanagi uses the magic he is emitting to protect his body. He starts feeling powerful, but the demon captain calls human attacks useless, even though he's using magic to cover himself. Kusanagi doesn't agree with it and decides to give his powers a try. He starts throwing punches and pushes back the demon captain, who is left with no choice as attacks come from all directions. The monster tries pathetically to protect itself, but Kusanagi keeps hitting it with his new technique. Shido observes the fight and notices the boy is overpowering a literal monster in hand-to-hand combat. He questions how it's even possible since human attacks are too weak against monsters. He is slowly harming the monster with just his fists. The demon captain gets injured and doesn't understand how a human attack can push him to such a pathetic state. Kusanagi is aware that normal attacks or any weapons have no effect on monsters, but if someone puts a huge amount of magic power behind them, the attacks actually work. Attacking while covering the whole body with magic power is called the fusion of martial arts and magic craft. He named it magic martial arts. The demon captain doesn't believe a trash human has just surpassed him in strength. It doesn't accept its defeat and tries to attack Kusanagi, but he dodges it with ease. Without wasting a second, he lands a strong punch, drilling a hole in its stomach. The demon captain calls him a monster for such strength. The other monsters find out their leader has already died. The sky turns back to normal, and the calamity finally ends. The policemen are relieved and learn the boy did everything. Shido advises them to kill the remaining beasts as well and keep their guards up. Kusanagi slowly comes down and smiles as he decides to leave the rest to the police. He suddenly remembers it has been ages since he used magic martial arts, so he couldn't use it properly. He lands back down and notices the crowd of policemen waiting for him. Shido thanks our boy for all the hard work and for single-handedly defeating the demon captain to stop the calamity. They are grateful for his cooperation. The whole police department gives Kusanagi a salute in respect. Ever since this incident, calamities have kept appearing across the globe continuously. But thanks to the police and the noble mage's cooperation, slowly all of the new calamities were stopped as well. People grew anxious because of the calamities and started hating the government for not being properly prepared. They showed disappointment towards the mages, who were expected to protect people. As the anxiety among people grew with time, someone said they still have the Black Mage on their side. Everyone started believing in the Black Mage, and the whole world wondered who he even was. At the academy, Kusanagi starts feeling irritated as the whole class finds out he is the one who stopped the second calamity as well. They call him amazing and start showering him with praise. They ask if it's really true that he had to face the subspecies of a demon captain during the calamity. He starts feeling bothered and hopes it ends. Yuika notices his tired expression. The teacher begins talking about the calamity that occurred recently. She advises everyone to stay prepared at all times since they're not just students but mages too, so there's no telling when they might get summoned. She points toward Kusanagi and calls him experienced. All of a sudden, Sanada appears with a few policemen. She excuses everyone and the teacher anxiously asks if there is an issue. Sanada shows her badge and assures her she came here with the headmaster's permission. She calls Kusanagi and requests him to help them once again. Our boy is surprised by how far the police have fallen. He wonders why they never care about their image. He notices the students gawking at him, which annoys him, so he decides to just leave. He asks Sanada to inform him about the situation. She assures him not to overthink it, as he will receive rewards and credit for his work. She explains the beasts keep appearing all across the globe because of the calamities, and illegal mages involved in weird organizations have also become way more active all of a sudden. Since they are lacking in manpower, Kusanagi says they came to get him. Sanada feels bad about asking him for help so many times but tells him they have no other choice since he is the strongest. Kusanagi pulls out his phone and advises her to just give him a call next time. Sanada apologizes and understands him. She is able to get his contact information and feels glad. The protagonist questions what he needs to do now. She instructs him to take care of all the beasts in Harajuku. He understands her. Sanada decides to take him with her in a car, but he believes they will become too late. So the protagonist pulls out his magic circles and starts leaving the school alone. The police are amazed to see his fast speed. At Harajuku, the sky turns red and two kids become terrified. The big brother tries to protect his sibling from harm as a magical beast appears. The kids try to run away, but the little one falls. As they're about to be eaten by the magical beast, the protagonist appears and instantly kills it. The kids calm down, and he praises them for hanging in there, telling them they did a great job. He hands back their toy Ichikami figurine and smiles to help them feel better. He hands the kids to the police and runs to clean the area. The kids bow to show their gratitude as he flies away, and the little brother smiles in appreciation. Kusanagi finds it harder to battle in Harajuku than at his academy or in the destroyed Shibuya, as the place is filled with obstacles and people. He can't use magic bullets, or he might hurt civilians still running for their lives. He can differentiate between humans and beasts, but normal people with zero magic can't be detected easily. The only way to save everyone is by patrolling the area. The police arrive, focusing on killing the monsters while leaving civilian rescue to the army and firefighters. They find Kusanagi and call his name. Our boy remembers him from the calamity, comes down, and guesses the policeman is reinforcement. He finds it helpful and asks about the situation. The policeman shares they haven't saved half the civilians and are struggling to reach the east side. Kusanagi shoots a few bullets and decides to check the east side. The policeman warns him about illegal mages there, according to reports, but knows there's no point in warning Kusanagi since he's the strongest. The other policemen notice him and wonder who he is, as he defeated multiple beasts with ease. They believe he's some kind of savior during these difficult times. Kusanagi defeats a demon captain with his 6th level burst stream. He's surprised to find demon captains, even though there's no calamity, something that hadn't happened even 50 years ago. As the number of beasts increases, Kusanagi realizes they're getting stronger, and the situation is getting so bad that even he finds it hard to handle. He believes he needs a plan before things get out of hand. Kusanagi saves 2 more civilians and hands them to the firefighters. He has a few plans but isn't sure which one to follow. He uses his bubbles to save more people. Sanada and a few policemen appear, and he helps calm the civilians. The police thank him again, believing they minimized the damage because of him. Kusanagi disagrees, saying it was thanks to the police and firefighters. He was simply helping out. The policeman admits he's an awesome student. They apologize for their rude behavior during the last calamity, admitting their pride caused it. Kusanagi tells them not to worry and to stop thinking about it. The policemen are amazed by his maturity and thank him again. Sanada steps forward and thanks him as well, noting she keeps relying on his powers, even though he's just a student. He assures her not to worry, as he agreed to help. Kusanagi points out that the number of monsters keeps increasing, and this time, they're stronger. Sanada agrees, thinking they need a plan to counter the calamity. She mentions her senior is doing his best to take action. As she speaks, the kids from earlier approach Kusanagi and thank him for saving them. He's happy to see they're safe. The little kid asks if he's the Great Sage, and the older one apologizes, saying his brother is obsessed with the Great Sage. Kusanagi notices the toy and realizes it's an Ichikami figurine. He tells the kids he's really the Great Sage, and the kid smiles, already knowing. Kusanagi remembers his past life, where someone requested Ichikami to let him make a doll of him. The guy excitedly shared he wouldn't just make a doll but photo cards and key holders too. Ichikami doubted anyone would want such things. The guy told him people needed the great sage's support in their hearts, and such items would be great for kids. Ichikami didn't fully agree, but the guy called him wrong, believing it would keep people safe for 100 years, not just 50. He begged for Ichikami's permission. Kusanagi smiles, realizing the guy was right. He knows mere dolls can't save people, but people need him again now. At a shady club in the capital, a few men report on the Black Mage to their leader, Kuroya Kuto, president of the underground mage guild, Black Rebellion. He gets up after hearing about an illegal mage who doesn't belong to any guild. Furious, he learns the Black Mage dares to go against him. He asks his lackey if he's correct, and the terrified underling answers yes. Kuroi orders them to find the Black Mage's real identity, using military force if necessary. Someone asks if they have permission to kill him. It's the executive manager, Kaga Shuji. Kuroi answers they can only kill him after torturing him. Kaga becomes excited, making an evil expression. Ruka asks Kusanagi about his magic power level. Yuika says the same, as she has been curious for a while. She wonders if it is 100,000 or maybe even 500,000. Yuika knows it's possible for someone like our boy. He answers it's 99,990,000 with an expressionless face. Everyone is speechless at first. Yuika doesn't believe it, and Katsuragi agrees with her as well. Ruka remembers that even Ichikami's magic power is about 1,000,000, so she doesn't believe him. Kusanagi is surprised to learn this. They all explain that people call 1,000,000 the highest limit for this reason. They wonder why he doesn't know such a common thing. The protagonist questions if his power is just 1,000,000. He tries looking it up on the internet but becomes confused. He smiles and admits he doesn't know how to use a phone. Since it's not worth the effort, he decides to give up. He gets a call from Shido. The boy asks what's wrong, and Shido apologizes for the disturbance, asking if he has some time to spare. Kusanagi answers positively, so the policeman asks if his friends are near him as well. Kusanagi tells him they are here. Shido requests him to put the phone on speaker. Kusanagi is completely clueless about it, so Yuika helps him turn it on. The policeman explains that since the number of monsters and calamities keeps increasing, he decided to create a specialized anti-monster squad, known as the Special Magic Team. He wants our boy to be the leader of the squad. Yuika is astonished to see her friend getting such an opportunity. She believes it's such a special title that mages would die to reach. She guesses her friend isn't going to refuse such a thing, but to her surprise, Kusanagi ends up refusing the offer. Yuika questions why, growing angry. The policeman requests them to listen to his explanation first. The protagonist wonders why Yuika is angry on his behalf, but decides to hear the explanation. Shido shares that there are too many issues going on, and the police can't handle everything alone. Also, since the monsters are growing in strength, it's hard for them to keep up anymore. He knows the boy understands his words. Kusanagi knows it's because the mages of this time period have really low magic levels. He wonders what happened to the nobles. Shido shares that the heads of Mizuha, Homurai, and Kaichi are still stuck in an overseas meeting, so the only one left is Fuka, but he's not available either for many weird reasons. Kusanagi suddenly remembers he never met Yuika's parents before. She tells him they still haven't returned from the meetings. Shido explains the special squad will have many police officers and a few students from the academy. He chooses Yuika, Ruka, and Katsuragi as members of the new special squad. He assures them he's willing to handle all the troublesome stuff, like clerical work and negotiations. So all of them just need to focus on getting stronger and leading the police mages. They'll get proper rewards, and their school credits will increase too, making it easier to find employment in the future. Shido starts begging, trying to convince the boy to become the captain. He hopes the protagonist agrees. Kusanagi becomes a bit annoyed but decides to do it. Shido finds it hard to believe but looks glad. The others agree with it as well. Ruka doesn't want Kusanagi to handle everything alone, while Katsuragi is just into hard challenges. Even though the protagonist is still unsure, he ends up going with it since he wants to train more mages as well. The news channels start criticizing the noble mage family, the Fukas. They didn't only leave behind their real duty because of some school disaster, but the noble family was also very slow with the subjugation of monsters. The noble man hears the news and calls the reporters dumb, since they're assuming noble mages can handle anything. Someone calls, so the noble mage gives him permission to enter. His butler appears and shares that the Metropolitan Police Department sent him a document. The noble mage reads the information about the special magic team being established. He calls it stupid and thinks useless people are into doing unnecessary things. He feels a bit disappointed but guesses this might help shut up the public. He orders the butler to call his dumb kid here. The butler understands him and leaves. At the police department, the protagonist and his friends join the special squad. They all hold a meeting, and Shido starts explaining something to everyone. The protagonist is surprised to hear the word dozens, but Shidu apologizes and explains that they did have candidates, but they didn't receive any applications for some reason. Shidu believes they'll get more applications once our boy starts producing real results. Kusanagi was expecting things to turn out this way, since it's weird for a literal student to be the team's captain. Some friction was bound to happen. Shidu hands over something and shares that it's a temporary mage badge. He admits it's an external cooperation but explains they're all public servants now. So, if anyone doubts it, he can just show this badge to them when needed. He adds another thing. The badges are only given when someone is from a unit, and since all of them are still not qualified as mages, the badge is just temporary. Shidu officially ends the student treatment with Kusanagi and addresses him as Captain Kusanagi. He leaves everything to the boy. The protagonist smiles, as it's been ages since he stood before people his own age. He goes to the front and introduces himself once more. He announces that he is the captain of the special mage team and promises everyone that he is willing to make everyone in his team stronger than even the heads of noble families. His friends and the police members are surprised, as it's something hard to believe. Kusanagi understands why they're doubting him, but decides to give solid proof to help clear the doubts. He asks Shidu if there are any magic power measuring devices available in the police station. The guy answers positively but becomes confused. As he brings a few measuring devices, Kusanagi orders Ruka and Katsuragi to step forward and measure their power levels. They decide to follow his orders. As they both pour out their magic into the machine, the protagonist tells everyone that Ruka's magic power level was only 10,000 last time, while Katsuragi had 8,000 magic power. Ruka becomes speechless as she gets a result of 30,000 magic power. Katsuragi is amazed to see 28,000 on the measuring screen as well. The policemen are astonished, as it is the magic power of the highest grade mage class. Kusanagi asks them to be patient and orders Yuika to measure her powers. She listens to him but feels a bit anxious. Yuika wonders what she should do now, as she believes the gap between her and her older sister might be too big. She knows she worked really hard, but at the end of the day, she thinks she is just an ordinary person with no talent. She becomes more anxious and doesn't want to see the results. Yuika calms herself down as she doesn't want to run away from such challenges anymore. She stops caring about the results and pours the magic into the machine, determined to always be true to herself. Shidu and Sanada's jaws drop as they see the results. Yuika feels a bit anxious but opens her eyes to find out it is 26,000. Shidu remembers her magic power was just 2,000 according to the records, and it's hard for him to believe there is a way to increase magic power to such an extent. Kusanagi makes it clear to everyone in the room that increasing magic power is possible. It just requires talent and the absolute determination to never give up and keep working hard till the end. He looks at Yuika with a smile and pats her head, letting her know how proud he is feeling and telling her she did an amazing job. Ruka feels happy as she watches their interaction. Kusanagi praises the other two as well, but they think this much was expected. Especially for Ruka, she believes this kind of improvement is normal for someone like her since she belongs to the Mizuha family, so there's no need for praises. He ignores her words and pats her head as well, praising her for all the hard work. Katsuragi knows his friend looks out of this world but is surprised to see him act this way without any fear. Yuika becomes anxious since she knows how terrifying her sister looks when she's angry. Ruka tells the protagonist she's not a baby, and he understands her and pulls away his hand. Katsuragi was a bit scared just now, and Yuika also thanks God her sister remained calm. Our boy tries to pat Katsuragi next, but he becomes embarrassed. Ruka remembers she was never treated like this all her life before today. Even her father never patted her head or did such a thing for her. A fat, ugly guy enters the room as he finds out everyone was here. He shares that he has been searching for Shidu everywhere and wonders why he hasn't received any proper greetings. Shidu tries to explain himself and tells the fatso he thought the guy wasn't coming today. The fat dude tells him his mind changed, so he decided to come. Shidu thinks about introducing him to everyone and announces he is Shu, a mage noble from the family of Fuka. Shidu secretly informs our boy that he didn't have a choice, as they needed the approval of the mage noble for the special team's establishment, so he was forced to enlist their names. He feels sorry about it. Kusanagi remembers the Fuka family ignored the request for reinforcements during the disaster that happened at his academy. Shidu tries to explain that happened because the nobles have a weird habit of maintaining authority, so they feel ashamed answering such requests since it's not something a mage noble would usually do. Shu speaks up and tells them he learned he was going to see Japan's leading magic unit. He wonders why there is a bunch of students in the room instead. Shidu introduces Kusanagi and reveals he is the one who defeated the boss monster and took care of the calamity that happened at the school. For his amazing achievements, he has been chosen to lead the team as the captain of the unit. Shu carefully looks at him and wonders how a trash student who doesn't even belong to a noble family stopped the school disaster. He steps on the protagonist's foot and arrogantly tells him he is nothing more than a piece of trash. He feels enraged to see our boy as the captain. The guy makes it clear not to act cocky, even if he's just a student. Yuika and Ruka question why he's acting this way, and they order him to step back, while Katsuragi threatens to blow him away. Shu wonders why ordinary people are trying to order him around. He recognizes the two sisters and remembers they belong to the Mizuha family. He's surprised to find out not everyone here is a piece of trash. Shu starts smirking and announces that he will be the one to lead the unit, but Shido tries to make him understand Kusanagi has already been chosen to lead the unit, so it can't be changed. Shu decides to challenge the protagonist and announces that the one who defeats the boss of the next calamity will earn the right to lead the unit. Shido tries to stop him, but the fatty decides to make his own rules and thinks it's settled. Shido apologizes for his behavior, but Kusanagi assures him it's fine, since anything he says would have been completely useless on such an idiot. He thinks it's fine, as he just needs to win. Yuika and the others get fired up. She's not going to let the guy become their captain. The other two become determined and decide to go all out as well. He wonders why they sound so fired up over such an idiot. At the police department grounds, Kusanagi thinks about his next step. He remembers the police officers mostly had about 10,000 magic power. He expected this, and decides to talk about magic power first. He starts explaining and talks about the importance of magic power. He tells everyone he knows they only use it to produce magic attacks, but it has other purposes as well. He calls Katsuragi and orders him to attack with everything he has. He becomes a bit confused, but the boy asks him to hurry up. Katsuragi tries throwing a punch with everything he has, hoping the protagonist doesn't complain about it later. The punch gets stopped by a weird barrier. He explains he is using the power of a magic barrier. If anyone has a lot of magic power, they can naturally use a magic barrier. Katsuragi keeps throwing punches, but nothing lands. He continues to explain they can use magic without even thinking about it if their magic power is huge enough. He calls it automatic power. Katsuragi finally gets tired and finds out his punches are completely useless. The protagonist orders everyone to keep one thing in mind. Increasing the magic power capacity is the most important goal for any mage. He starts pouring his magic into the policemen one by one to help them understand how to sense magic power. Everyone begins their training, and they all work hard to get stronger. Kusanagi realizes they really need some equipment besides the training. He wonders if it's possible to get some anti-monster equipment. Judging by Shido's reaction, our boy finds out it might be nearly impossible to get his hands on one for now. Shido assures him he will manage something if he waits a little longer. Kusanagi is aware he won't find any good craftsmen in this time period, so he decides to make one himself, even though he has never done that before. He is positive he can make one himself. He opens his drawer as he tries to find something useful. He finds a cheap ring, but notices it is still in good condition, which means it might be something important. He believes it might work, but it's still not enough. The protagonist starts thinking about a store he could shop at. His phone starts ringing suddenly. He notices it is a call from Ruka. He wonders what she wants since she rarely calls him. Kusanagi picks it up but questions why she's so silent. She shares her opinion and believes only he is worthy of leading the unit. He becomes confused and asks if she's trying to encourage him. She says he's correct. Kusanagi smiles as he finds out she is an awkward person. He decides to ask her something. Kusanagi invites her to go shop with him tomorrow if she doesn't have anything else to do. He doesn't know much about buying accessories, so he needs help. Ruka questions if he's inviting the others as well. He answers negatively and believes going in large groups is unnecessary. She is a bit hesitant, so Kusanagi asks if she wants to go. She agrees to go with him. He calls her a lifesaver and asks where they should go. She suggests Harajuku, so he decides to meet her at the station around noon. She hopes they can see each other tomorrow and cuts the call. Kusanagi feels glad as he can buy rings for everyone in his squad now. He wonders if he should spend his day crafting anti-monster equipment with the ring he just found. He starts pouring in his magic and believes it will somehow work. Yuika calls her sister for dinner but gets no reply and becomes a bit concerned since her sister never behaves like this. Yuika decides to check, so she announces that she is coming in. She finds her sister with a cute dress in her hand and becomes speechless. Ruka asks what's wrong. Yuika apologizes and informs her that dinner is ready. Ruka tells her she will come in a bit. Yuika has never seen her sister so excited before. She wonders if Ruka is planning on going out and assumes it is a date with our boy. The next day, Kusanagi reaches the Harajuku station. Yuika spies on him from behind a wall and tries to keep her distance while concealing her identity so he doesn't find her. She feels weird spying on them in such a way, so she apologizes to them in her heart. Ruka finally appears in a beautiful dress, and everyone starts staring at her. She asks our boy if he had to wait. He shares that he just got here, so it's fine. The dudes staring at them call her beautiful and assume she is talking to her boyfriend. They become a bit jealous while Yuika questions what's going on as she finds out her sister and Kusanagi are on a date. Ruka asks what he's looking for. Kusanagi answers that he wants a ring. She wonders if it's a gift. He calls her correct, but shares he needs several. Ruka is surprised, assuming something else. She questions if he has that many partners. He answers positively, but she reminds him Japan is not a polygamous country. He assures her he already knows that. Ruka advises him to buy inexpensive ones if he is planning to buy in bulk. She remembers the perfect place, so he decides to leave it to her. They visit multiple shops while Yuika observes them both from a distance. After a few hours of trying, Ruka admits it is really hard to find rings that are sturdy, inexpensive, and not too fancy. Kusanagi feels a bit annoyed since whenever they finally choose a good ring, something is always missing. He checks another one and realizes it looks pretty expensive as well. Yuika drinks her juice from a distance and wonders what they're both talking about. She feels a bit jealous seeing them stand so close to each other. The manager approaches them with a smile and asks what they're looking for. She is willing to give him a suggestion if he is planning to give his girlfriend a gift. Kusanagi tries to clarify she is not his girlfriend, but as soon as he speaks, Ruka cuts him off and tells the manager she is not his girlfriend with a cold expression. The manager anxiously apologizes and lets them look around as she goes away, feeling embarrassed. Ruka tries to stop her while the boy feels a bit annoyed. They finally sit down, and Kusanagi shares how exhausted he's feeling from all the walking they did, especially in a crowded place like a mall. He's finding it hard to choose a good ring and wonders if there is something wrong with his criteria. Kusanagi notices the expressions on Ruka's face. She admits she doesn't know how to show affection, and she's aware he already knows about her trash personality. He calls her correct, and Ruka remembers she doesn't even know how to interact with her little sister. She caused her many problems because of this. She suggests it is better if he does the shopping with Yuika instead, since she is just getting in the way. He calls her wrong and says he already knows she did her research and learned the locations of multiple stores before coming. She even thought properly about which ones he should choose. She took the trip so seriously even though it's his problem. He assures her she is a great help to him with a smile on his face. Ruka starts blushing and feels better. Yuika notices her face and remembers she never saw her sister with such expressions. She starts feeling down and wonders why she's spying in the first place. Yuika decides to go home. After a few hours, Kusanagi happily exits the mall as he was finally able to find good rings. She is still a bit confused about why he needed 5 of them. He shares he needed one for each partner. Ruka believes his partners are going to be really happy when they receive the gift since he took his time to pick the rings. He mentions it is for the unit's equipment, so there is no reason for them to be unhappy about it. She is a bit confused to hear this but finally understands why he bought so many. He shows his gratitude for all the help she gave and thanks her properly. Ruka thinks it's fine. She is glad she was able to help him out. He decides to repay her for the effort, but she assures him he doesn't need to do anything. He pulls out the ring from earlier and asks her to give him her hand. She feels a bit shy and questions what he wants to do. He grabs it and shares it as the first special ring he made himself. He hopes she takes good care of it and smiles. Ruka is glad but starts leaving. He tries to stop her, but she doesn't give him a chance and leaves. He wanted to explain more about the anti-monster equipment, but decides to do it some other time when he gets the chance again. As she walks away, Ruka suddenly stops and stares at the ring. She hugs her hand as she admires the ring and starts blushing uncontrollably. The next day, Kusanagi announces he will hand out the anti-monster equipment now, so they can come and take one. Sanada and the other policemen wear it and feel a magic reaction. They're amazed to see magical equipment for the first time. He explains it is called anti-monster equipment, and he imbued wind magic into it, so if they use their magic powers, they can use the ring to produce wind magic up to level 1. Shido is amazed. He starts questioning how the protagonist got his hands on such a thing. Kusanagi reveals he is the one who made them. Shido finds it hard to believe, since craftsmen capable of making such precious equipment barely exist anymore. He is astonished to find out our boy can make such a thing with ease. He admits Kusanagi amazes him every time. Yuika notices her sister didn't take a ring. She notices Ruka is already wearing a ring she has never worn before. Yuika assumes it is from their date and becomes anxious as she wonders what happened after she decided to leave. Kusanagi believes they all lack proper transportation. He doubts cars are fast enough, so he calls them unreliable. Shido thinks he's right since they always arrive late. Kusanagi demonstrates how to use the wind magic spell, Aerial, using the anti-monster equipment. He believes it will help reduce the time they spend traveling significantly. He explains it is not strong enough to be used as attacks against monsters, but they can fly with it, so they should give it a try. He guides them by sharing they need to visualize jumping in the air since Aerial involves flying and acceleration. Sanada and Shido start flying using the special ring. Kusanagi notices Yuika flying as well. He praises her for it, but she believes this much was expected since she has been training to learn magic manipulation for quite a while now. She stares at the protagonist. Yuika starts feeling guilty all of a sudden for spying on her sister earlier. Kusanagi notices her expression and becomes confused. He approaches Yuika and says he wanted to ask something from her. He questions if she is aware of Ichikami Minato. Yuika answers positively, as he is the person she likes the most. He asks her about Ichikami's power level. She answers it was around 1,000,000. He was capable of using many spells but died fighting against the demon god during the Great Calamity. He's curious about what happened after he died. She answers most great mages died as well, and her noble ancestors were among the people who worked hard for the revival of society. The Mizuha family played a huge role in everything. She says all of this with a proud expression, and continues to share that barely any data or documents were left after the last calamity finally ended. That's the reason magic studies were built again from zero. Kusanagi is aware the death rate of mages was quite high around that time, but he remembers leaving a lot of books behind. He stored the information about magic in different places to prepare for the future. He wonders why the knowledge of modern-day magic is so bad and full of errors compared to what he left. The power level of mages these days is extremely low. He wonders if someone is behind all of this. Yuika notices him zoning out and asks if he's fine. He assures her it's nothing. She asks him to keep in mind, if he is worried about something, he shouldn't hesitate to share it with her. She is aware she isn't very useful, but still tells him to ask for her help. Kusanagi thanks her for the consideration and calls her a big help. He knows she's going to keep whatever he shares a secret, but he still needs to be cautious about the Black Mage issue. There is a possibility she might get in trouble if he involves her, so he decides to never bring it up. He is aware she might just end up losing consciousness if she finds out he is the legendary Ichikami Minato. Yuika assumes he is hiding things because she is not reliable enough. She decides to get stronger so she can be more useful to Kusanagi. She becomes determined to do her best. 1 week later, Kusanagi orders everyone to get ready and fire. Sanada is able to throw level 2 holy magic called Holy Crest. Shidu, now capable of using level 3 magic, while Katsuragi and the Mizuha sisters are able to throw level 4 magic. Kusanagi feels happy as he learns everyone has gotten stronger. Even Sanada, who didn't know how to use offensive magic before, can now attack with offensive magic spells as well. The most surprising thing for him is the compatibility between the Mizuha sisters. He knows people would think it is only natural since they are both sisters. Yuika and Ruka destroy the training ground with their level 4 magic. Yuika suddenly remembers some bad memories but starts smiling as she has finally earned her sister's respect. Kusanagi praises everyone for their hard work, but tells them not to get lazy just because their magic levels increased, since the levels don't necessarily mean they have gotten stronger and better at using magic. He decides to give an example and orders Ruka to use a level 4 magic spell on him. She understands him and follows his instructions. Ruka throws a level 4 attack at him, but Kusanagi only uses level 1 earth magic as a counterattack. As both magic attacks clash, everyone is surprised to see that level 1 magic was able to neutralize level 4 magic. He explains the magic levels only help with the amount of magic power that can be infused with an attack. It doesn't mean higher level magic is stronger. Even with level 1 magic, if the mage is able to infuse maximum magic power, even level 4 magic is easily beatable. He mentions the attributes of magic matter as well. Water is always weak to earth. He orders everyone to avoid getting trapped by the idea of levels. He explains they need to understand magic power and master the spells they have. If they follow his instructions, they can become stronger. Everyone listens carefully as Kusanagi reveals they shouldn't forget about their partners either, since combined powers can become even stronger. They all yell out as they become motivated, but out of nowhere, the fatty appears again and feels pity for them. Shidu asks why he's here for no reason. Shu thinks no calamity is happening anytime soon, so he's bored. Shidu advises him to clear out a few monsters if he's not planning on training, but Sho rejects the idea as it is too much work for him. He leaves all of it on the police department while smiling wickedly. Kusanagi's friends become annoyed, but he feels nothing. Shu hopes the calamity arrives quickly as the sky starts turning red. Yuika notices it first and points out something is wrong. Shu realizes it really is the calamity and gets fired up. He reminds everyone that the squad that is able to defeat the boss first is going to be chosen as the leader of the special unit. He announces the beginning of his challenge. Kusanagi's squad becomes fired up as they are determined not to lose to an ugly fatso like Sho. Fatty and his men start using the equipment to fly away with their wind magic. He becomes cocky and calls everyone a loser as he leaves. Yuika calls him unfair, but Kusanagi reminds her that they can do the same as well. He orders everyone to properly prepare and put on their headsets. As the whole team starts flying, Kusanagi reminds them that it's their first fight as a squad, so they need to remain cautious. They all start moving. Shu leaves behind a car driving on a road. He calls it slow and laughs. Katsuragi calls him fast, and Yuika doesn't understand how the fatso can move this quickly with such a huge body. Kusanagi believes it's because they are all good at wine magic, so it's going to be tough for his squad to keep up. He knows he can easily overtake them, but doesn't want to destroy the purpose of being in a team. He decides not to rush since the citizens look completely fine. Shu starts making fun of them and mocks them for calling themselves a special squad since they can't even overtake him. He keeps calling them losers. Yuika notices his expressions and assumes he is mocking them, even though she can't hear his words. The fatty finds a few people and announces he is here. He warns them about the calamity and starts killing a few monsters with his teammates. They all shoot wind magic and kill a beast. The civilians try to find a safe spot and ask the fatso for help, but he ignores them completely and keeps shooting wind magic towards the monsters. As the civilians are about to get caught up in his wind magic, the protagonist appears and shields them with his barrier. He asks the fatso what he's trying to do with a cold, terrifying expression. The noble brat and his men become so scared they almost piss their pants. He tries to understand what's happening as he can't even move his arm. Kusanagi's squad appears and confirms if the civilians are holding on fine. Yuika questions what the fatso just tried to pull off. She becomes angry and orders him not to drag ordinary people into a fight. Shu and his teammates are finally able to move again. He wonders if Kusanagi did something to his body. He brushes it off and believes it was nothing. Fatso calls it their fault for getting in the way of a mage noble like him. Yuika becomes irritated and orders him to repeat that. He uses his wind magic and starts flying off with his buddies while leaving the safety of commoners to Kusanagi. He is determined to defeat the boss. As the fatty leaves, Kusanagi observes him and is confident he could easily destroy the fatso in mere seconds. But he doesn't want to make it look like he is afraid of a stupid challenge. He suddenly realizes this might be a good opportunity for something. Kusanagi orders his squad to defeat the monsters while he protects the citizens from any kind of harm. Shido wonders if he is confident about the challenge since it sounds hard to protect so many civilians all alone. Kusanagi assures him he's confident since he is the leader of their special unit. Shido believes his words and thinks his question was stupid. Yuika motivates everyone to start defeating the monsters as they already rely on the protagonist so much. Everyone agrees with her, so our boy orders them all to start moving and win for him. They all move forward using their wind magic and start fighting the monsters. Yuika uses level 3 magic spells to destroy some strong monsters. She remembers being scared when faced with a similar situation before, but now she is surprised by her own capabilities as she can easily defeat demon soldiers. Yuika has finally gotten stronger. Kusanagi senses the magic energy around him and finds out both humans and monsters are mixed in, and many civilians are still stuck in a dangerous situation. He is aware of the situation's difficulty but believes he can take care of it because he is Kusanagi Minato. He moves forward with his wind magic to save everyone. Shu and his men keep blasting wind magic while ignoring the civilians. Ruka and the others maintain their formation and remain determined not to fall behind the fatso. Yuika starts sensing a weird magic energy out of nowhere. She looks back and finds a demon appearing behind her. The delusional fatty doesn't hesitate for even a second and runs towards the demon to stop the calamity and win his stupid challenge. He decides to use his level 4 magic for it. His men try to stop the fatso as level 4 magic is not even going to scratch an opponent like the demon. Shu doesn't listen and believes they don't know anything because they have never fought a demon before in their lives. He is confident he will definitely win this battle since he is a noble mage. Fatty launches a level 4 wind attack, but the demon pulls out his level 4 fire magic in response and completely destroys the fatty's pathetic attack. Shu finds it hard to believe he was overpowered just like that. As the fire attack almost hits him, he starts running with his lackeys. Some civilians get caught up in it. They scream for help, but Shu ignores them and keeps running to save himself. Kusanagi appears and uses earth magic to stop it. His squad joins in, and they all defend the civilians from the fire attack. Kusanagi smiles and praises them for it. Yuika approaches the fatty. He is relieved he didn't die. With a cold expression, she questions why he just ignored the citizens and only saved his own life. He calls it their fault for not running away to safety. He believes they don't deserve to live if they are going to slow down a magic noble like him. Yuika becomes so angry hearing his stupid words, she is unable to control herself anymore, so she smacks his face as hard as she can. The fatty goes flying away after such a slap. She calls him prideless and pathetic for a magic noble. Shu questions why she slapped a nobleman like him. Yuika advises everyone to leave his pathetic ass behind and continue defeating the rest of the monsters appearing in the city. They all agree and start moving while Sho whines about being completely ignored by her. Kusanagi observes them while bringing the civilians to safety. He notices they are acting very noisy in front of the enemy. He guesses it's fine since they were able to calm down quickly. Kusanagi decides to go look for more survivors who need his help. He thinks about remaining cautious, as the boss can appear at any time. As the demon monster appears, Shu and his lackeys hide behind a wall as they finally accept they can't defeat such a powerful monster all by themselves. The teammates advise Fatso to start retreating. Shu knows the demon monster is just too powerful for him. Even though he is a noble, he doesn't believe he can defeat it. The Fatso suddenly gets an idea. He decides to let the other squad wear down the monster when they engage in a fight, And then, once the monster is weak, he plans to intervene and take all the credit by finishing it off. The lackeys praise him for his amazing idea. He thinks it's normal for a genius like him and guesses they should stay hidden and wait for the perfect time. His men agree with him. Shido and the whole squad face the demon monster coming their way. Yuika is able to sense how strong the monster is. She doubts they can win this fight but becomes determined to do whatever she can. The whole squad starts attacking the demon persistently. They wonder if it's finally dead. But as the smoke clears, the demon comes out unscathed. Yuika finds out it didn't even scratch it. Ruka suggests they need to use level 4 magic or lower level magic with the proper amount of magic power behind the attack. The demon starts summoning fire attacks from his magic circles. He attacks them, and as they all try dodging it, Yuika learns it has gotten stronger than before, twice as strong as the magic she has. Yuika admits the difference in power is just so big. They have no chance of winning like this. She wonders what she should do next. Kusanagi notices his squad is stuck in a bad situation. He decides to give them advice. Kusanagi orders them to work together. She answers they are already working together. He advises her to combine her powers in the truest sense. He hints that she and Ruka hold the key to victory. Yuika becomes confused and anxiously asks what he means, but he orders her to figure it out herself. Yuika tries to stop him from leaving the call, but she gets attacked by fire magic and gets busy trying to defend herself. Ruka believes Kusanagi's words hold a deep meaning, so they all need to think about it as a team. Yuika thinks her sister is correct, since Kusanagi has always led them to great things. She finally understands what she needs to do. Yuika points out the demon takes a long time casting its magic spells, so they should just avoid its attacks and ignore it for now, as they need to defeat smaller enemies as well. Yuika asks Shido and the policeman to take the east while they continue attacking from the west. She will provide a signal for when the demon throws any kind of attack. They all understand her instructions. As the powerful demon begins throwing an attack, Yuika warns and signals everyone about it. They all dodge the monster's attacks with Yuika's help. Kusanagi observes everything while saving civilians. He was expecting Ruka or Katsuragi to take the lead, but finds out Yuika is also good at it, since she can read people well. He thinks she can lead people. Yuika starts feeling tired and realizes their magic power and level might not be enough to win. She wonders what she needs to do now. Yuika tries to recall Kusanagi's words and suddenly understands she misunderstood everything. She doubts such a ridiculous method is going to save them, but she left behind her common sense a long time ago, so she decides to give it a try. She knows it is a do-or-die situation. Yuika requests everyone to lend her their magic power. Fatso observes them from behind and wonders what they're planning to do. The whole squad gets ready for something. Shido tries to confirm if this is really possible. Yuika is not sure herself but knows they don't have any other choice. Ruka puts her faith in Yuika. Katsuragi and Sanada decide to give it their all too, as they can just think of something else if this plan fails. The demon raises its arm and produces a level 5 fire magic blazing pillar. A huge wave of fire starts falling down on Kusanagi's squad. Fatso and his men call the squad useless losers, but his lackeys ask him to look at what's happening. He is surprised to see the whole squad moving forward towards the demon. Sanada unleashes her level 3 sacred healing magic to heal all the members of the squad. Kusanagi calls it a brilliant plan, since it is hard to dodge a level 5 spell. With this, Sanada can heal everyone from all the damage they are going to deal with, which is very smart. Yuika and Ruka stand together against the beast and charge their attacks. They release the water magic. Kusanagi is glad they finally understood. If they can't defeat it with their individual capabilities, they can combine their powers to achieve victory. He smiles and calls it a grand magic spellburst stream as a huge wave of water completely destroys the demon in one go. As the smoke clears, Shido is surprised to learn the Mizuha sisters were capable of casting a level 6 spell together. Katsuragi points towards the demon. They are shocked to see it is still holding on to its pathetic life. Shu and his men see the opportunity and try finishing it off so they can claim victory. Kusanagi stops them using his drain tentacles. The Fatso doesn't understand what's happening with him, as all his mana gets depleted. He loses all his strength instantly. Kusanagi appears from behind and takes back his magic tentacles. He feels a bit annoyed by their behavior. The demon finally fades away. Katsuragi and the others are relieved. Shido thinks it was probably about to die after taking such an attack. As the calamity finally ends, the sky turns back to normal. The whole squad is happy to see they finally won. Sanada praises the Mizuha sisters and thanks them. Ruka and Yuika lose consciousness and fall down. Katsuragi becomes concerned and asks what's wrong. They are both unable to move at all since they used up all their magic. Yuka tells her sister they actually won. Ruka agrees with her and feels relieved. Kusanagi praises his team for their efforts, smiles, and confirms they were the ones who stopped the calamity. He labels it as their first real mission, and is happy they showed their true worth and didn't disappoint him. Even though they fought for the first time like this, he believes his squad is going to keep growing stronger. He praises Yuika for her amazing growth so far and points out she gave excellent commands during the calamity. She even understood what he meant by grand magic, and he wonders if she already knew about this technique. Yuika confidently answers she didn't, and she learns it is called grand magic. He is surprised to learn she didn't know this, and doesn't understand how she pulled it off without even knowing. She thanks him for giving such an amazing hint, and shares that the rest was just her gut feeling. Kusanagi is shocked as he realizes he was wrong about Yuika. He guesses she might be way more special than he initially expected. Kusanagi ends the questioning and points out she succeeded on the spot, which is very incredible. He believes the harmony and compatibility between her and Ruka also played a huge role in it. He notices the watch and tells everyone it is finally time for something important. Kusanagi grabs the remote and turns on the TV. Some special members of the police department, including Shido, are involved in a conference. One of them speaks up and explains they created the special Mage team, also known as SMT, to prepare against the growing number of calamities and demon monsters. The news reporter questions why they chose a student who was involved in the calamity at the academy as the squad's leader, asking if what he's saying is true. Shido steps up to answer this question. He introduces himself as the proxy representing the special squad's leader and confirms the squad leader really is just a student. This is hard for everyone to believe. They are against appointing a minor as a squad leader. Shido defends Kusanagi and explains he has abilities that even surpass the magic nobles. He reminds them that the magic nobles are completely useless and didn't even join them to help. The police were left in a dire situation and had to save the citizens all by themselves. He adds that Kusanagi appeared and saved everyone from the calamity. Shido believes Kusanagi is a savior sent by God, who is going to protect this era from the monsters. Shido doesn't trust anyone else with the leadership role. Kusanagi, while watching this on the TV, becomes a bit embarrassed. He was hoping Shido wouldn't make a huge deal out of him. The important government officials call it absurd and troublesome. They think it's wrong to ignore the magic nobles and establish a squad behind their back. If this happens, the noble mages will lose their jobs. The men admit the noble mages are pretty useless since they didn't even respond to the calamity. They are aware of the Fuka clan's horrible reputation, and even though some of the clan leaders are not in the country, it is still their job to respond to the calamity, so they are ignoring their own jobs. The police head speaks and shares they place their trust in the noble mages, and they didn't create the special squad to undermine any of the noble families. Someone enters the conference room and tells everyone to step back. It is the ugly fatty and his lackeys. He calls the current leader an incompetent loser and believes a magic noble like him deserves to be the real leader. He calls them out for their rudeness in holding a press conference while completely ignoring him. His minions show support for his claims as well. Shido doesn't understand why he's here out of nowhere, even though he lost the challenge. Shu and his minions act like there was no challenge. He lies about having no such promises. He calls his words the magic noble absolute and tells everyone to just listen to him. A news reporter moves forward to ask a question. He gives her permission to ask anything. She informs everyone that she learned he didn't help any civilians during the calamity that happened recently. He instead kept dragging innocent people into his fights. She asks if this is true. Shu becomes anxious and answers that nothing like this happened, but the other news reporters call him out for his lies since they have proof of his wrongdoings. The officials question if a magic noble is really doing such horrible things. They call it unacceptable since the citizens are always the top priority. They don't let his actions slide this time. Fatso becomes terrified and orders everyone to shut up. He doesn't accept his fault and blames it on the civilians for getting in the way of a magic noble like him. He calls everyone peasants and orders them to stop talking. Shido believes everyone already knows that the current magic nobles are corrupt. He points out how important it is to have heroes like Kusanagi, who will lead the nation and protect people from monsters. Heroes who will fight with zero selfish intentions. He thinks Kusanagi is perfect to be their squad leader. Shido points towards the fatty and tells everyone they don't need corrupt and selfish magic nobles who don't care about the citizens. The news reporters take Shido's side, while the head of the police department becomes concerned. Fatso leaves frustrated and makes it clear to everyone that he will definitely take his revenge and make them regret what they said to him. Kusanagi smiles awkwardly as he sees the fatty leave. He is surprised Shido didn't hold back at all this time. Yuika shows everyone the videos about the calamity that were posted on the internet. She reveals that the magic noble Fatso is getting a lot of hate for his actions. Kusanagi becomes a bit terrified of the internet since things spread very quickly. Yuika suddenly gets surprised. Kusanagi asks what's wrong, with an anxious expression. Yuika shares that all of their faces got caught on camera. Kusanagi becomes frustrated as it is impossible for him to hide his real identity after this. He was hoping to not stand out as much as possible, but knows things will become more complicated for him after this. After a few days at the meeting room, Kusanagi becomes surprised as he sees the huge crowd of people gathering. He wonders what's happening. Shido shares that the higher-ups are giving their approval easily now, out of nowhere, and the number of people hoping to volunteer has suddenly increased as well. Shidu anxiously smiles and believes this is happening because of the information that got spread on the internet and the press conference that happened recently. Shidu starts apologizing for not holding back during the press conference. He is aware he made a mistake, and he somehow wants to make it up to Kusanagi. Our boy was hoping he could train more people but didn't want to stand out this much. Yuika appears from behind and grabs his arm. She suggests he should just get used to it since it's hard for the world to take its eyes off of someone as special as him. He calls it troublesome, and hopes he can avoid attention after this at least. At night, somewhere inside a mysterious place, a man tied to a chair gets asked a question. A guy holds his knife near the victim's throat and orders him to reveal everything or he's dead. The guy with red hair becomes terrified. He gets asked about the Black Mage but tries to clarify he already told everything he knew. He shares that the Black Mage is a young kid who can cast strong magic spells. The man slashes the red-haired dude with his knife and threatens him to reveal everything or he's dead. The victim becomes terrified and begs for his life. He finally recalls something else. The red-haired dude shares that the police are consistently checking the Magic Academy to learn more about the Black Mage, so there is a rumor he might be a student. He swears he doesn't know anything else about the Black Mage. The kidnapper believes in his words but calls it disappointing. The victim hopes he will get released now since he revealed everything. The mysterious man assures him he will, but kills him and clarifies he will get free from life's grasp instead. The victim bleeds out and dies. The mysterious four-eyed man becomes angry as blood splashes onto him. He calls it filthy and starts rubbing off the blood. He was able to learn the Black Mage might be a student. He gets excited and starts smiling wickedly as he wonders how terrific a young kid's screams will sound. He hopes the Black Mage is waiting for him. Kusanagi lands in Shinjuku while wearing a mask to hide his face. He defeats a monster and starts looking around. Our boy spots a few kids with a camera in their hands. One of the kids starts recording the dead monster Kusanagi just killed, and they both call it the work of the Black Mage. One of them is a bit frustrated that he couldn't make it on time to film Kusanagi. Our boy was hoping the hype and interest people had in the Black Mage would have decreased by now, but he realizes he is totally wrong as he finds many people searching for him, even in such residential areas. The police are involved as well. He is glad the police are dealing with monsters and disasters properly now compared to when he was reincarnated. He guesses the people don't need the Black Mage anymore. Kusanagi notices something happening on the ground. A few thugs corner a helpless man and demand 10 million yen from him. They order him to just sell his organs if he can't pay up. The man tries to defend himself and clarifies he only took 200k yen, but the thugs start using their magic and call it interest on the loan. They try teaching him a lesson, and as they are about to attack him, Kusanagi jumps in and shields the man from the thugs. The helpless guy uses this opportunity to leave. The thugs become angry and question if he thinks he's some kind of cool hero. They try fighting Kusanagi, but he decides to give them a taste of pain so they stop acting this way. They get beaten up and apologize afterward. The men promise they won't do anything to resist. The Black Mage wonders why the police aren't dealing with illegal mages even now. The thugs recognize it's the Black Mage. They start talking about the rumors they've heard. One of them mentions the underground syndicates are after our boy. They get anxious about being on another gang's turf. Kusanagi hears them talk and asks about the organization. They become terrified and try to act dumb. The thugs say they don't know anything while begging him to let go of them. They promise they won't tell anyone they met him. The Black Mage wonders how much they know, so he decides to let them go if they reveal everything. The thugs agree, and one of them reveals the Black Rebellion is an underground organization of mages who are hidden from the public. He shares they have their hands in all sorts of horrible crimes like money laundering, controlling the Yakuza, gangs, or mafia. The organization is behind all of it. The thugs share that the Black Rebellion even has connections with the media and politics, so they have the freedom to do whatever they want. The thugs smile awkwardly and tell him there's a Black Rebellion branch nearby as well. They came here in hopes of getting a job there. He beats them up and starts leaving the sketchy alley. Kusanagi remembers Sanada mentioned something about the increase in illegal activities. He was finally able to learn the Black Rebellion is behind all of this. Our boy calls it interesting and gets a bit excited. He decides to leave the calamity and the increase in monsters to his student version instead, and clean the underworld whenever he goes out as the Black Mage. He guesses he should start with the Kabukicho branch first, since it is the nearest. Our boy reaches the place and sees a crowd of men and women doing sketchy business. He is surprised by how lively the modern entertainment district looks. Kusanagi feels a bit annoyed but moves forward and starts by sensing the magic around him. He can't tell which ones belong to the organization since he is dealing with humans this time. Our boy decides to start by arresting a few criminals doing sketchy activities around the area. He finds two selling drugs in a dark alley. They notice him and get ready to attack, but the protagonist beats the crap out of them and tries getting any information out of them. He is barely able to learn anything but decides to report it to the police so they can take care of the rest. He beats a few more men and learns the organization is gathered at a place called Western. The man assures him he's telling the truth and hopes he can leave now since he revealed all the information he had to offer. Kusanagi beats him up and leaves, hoping the information he got is correct. At the Western bar, a pretty woman with purple hair enters and sits near the bartender. He asks for her order. She gives him some cash and hopes he can provide information. He takes it and lets her speak. The mysterious girl questions the bartender about the Black Rebellion's hideout. The bartender calls her question wrong. She becomes a bit concerned. He corrects her and says she should be asking about what's going to happen to her next. The purple-haired girl realizes it is a trap. She looks back to see a few thugs getting up. One of them knew someone was sniffing around, but he didn't expect it to be a beautiful woman. She realizes she has made a huge mistake by believing in false information. The thugs attack, but one of them orders to keep her alive. The helpless girl attacks as well in hopes of saving her life. She doesn't waste a second and rushes toward the exit but gets hit by fire magic from behind. The woman falls down and becomes injured. The thugs like her tough attitude and decide to use her for her beautiful body. She becomes hopeless and apologizes to her brother in her heart, as she couldn't do much. As the thug almost grabs her, the protagonist enters the bar, surprising everyone. He completely ignores what's happening and goes right toward the bartender. Our boy asks if the Black Rebellion members are in this bar. A thug approaches him from behind and questions if the protagonist is aware of the situation he's in right now. He tries to attack while throwing insults but gets punched in the face by our boy. The thug goes flying away and hits the club's wall. He struggles to get up and loses consciousness. The other thugs and the girl are all left speechless, their jaws completely dropped. The purple-haired woman knows no normal human can hit someone this hard. She doesn't understand how he did it. The girl wonders if he used some sort of magic, but she didn't see him enchanting anything either. She wonders who he is. Kusanagi is glad the intel wasn't completely useless, as he was able to find many low-level mage thugs in the Western Club. He calls the Black Rebellion thugs pathetic scums for ganging up on a woman, continuing to insult them. The thugs become terrified but try to stay calm, as they still have the number advantage. One of them orders everyone to gang up on the protagonist since he is completely alone, believing they can win if they all attack together. The thugs start throwing multiple fire attacks, but our boy tries to hold back and just dodge. The purple-haired woman doubts he can win since the numbers have a huge advantage, especially since they are fighting indoors. She assumes he can't cast any strong spells, which means there's no chance he will win. The girl shouts and warns the protagonist to just run away. As he is about to get attacked, the protagonist loses his patience and dodges everything swiftly to get closer to the thugs. He approaches them and starts throwing hands. Our boy beats the crap out of them one by one and knocks everyone out in mere seconds. The purple-haired woman is left speechless. She couldn't keep up with whatever happened because the boy moved extremely fast. She wonders if he used some kind of magic. The thug starts crying and questions who he even is. He demands answers, so Kusanagi answers that he is the Black Mage, the man who is going to destroy the Black Rebellion gang. He knocks out the last guy as well and walks toward the girl. She is still surprised by how fast he destroyed everyone and wonders if he's some kind of elite or legendary mage. Kusanagi comes closer, and she's able to learn he looks like a high school student. She calls his eyes striking. He becomes a bit worried and asks if she's okay. He finds out she is not injured. With a confused expression, the girl assures him she is okay. He walks toward the bartender hiding behind the table. Kusanagi demands information about the Black Rebellion, but the bartender rejects his request because he is afraid they will hunt him down if he reveals anything. Our boy lands a strong punch and destroys the table to scare the bartender. He demands information again and makes it clear this is the last chance he is giving. The bartender becomes terrified and decides to reveal everything to save himself from Kusanagi. He shares that the Black Rebellion's base is actually in Tokyo, with branches everywhere, even beyond Kabukicho. He has heard the head of the Kabukicho branch is not a person anyone should mess with. The leader of the gang is a mage, and he holds a lot of influence in the underworld. Some people even say he is controlling Japan from the background. Kusanagi asks about the branch, but the bartender swears he doesn't know anything about it. He explains that low-level guys like him just get crappy jobs and don't know anything about the branch location. The protagonist is a bit disappointed, as he's back to zero again. He decides to find more illegal mages to gather information about the branch. As he's about to leave, the woman stops him and shows her gratitude since he saved her life. She doesn't know what kind of unimaginable things she would have gone through if he hadn't been there. He assures her not to worry, as he was just passing by. He believes it is her own fault for putting herself in such a dangerous situation, since she got involved herself. She calls him harsh, and he says she is correct but shares he's only harsh on adults. The woman assumes he's planning to search for the Black Rebellion. She is curious and questions what he's aiming to do once he finally finds the gang. With a cold expression, He answers that he will destroy it. She is a bit shocked to see how serious he is. She learns he wants to destroy the gang completely, but doubts he can do it all by himself, even if he is strong. She knows she can't do it alone either, so she decides to make a request. The woman asks our boy if he wants to join her. She confidently shares that she is a detective with more access to valuable information and holds many connections as well. She is aware she doesn't have the kind of strength he holds. The woman is a bit shocked to learn the Black Mage is a lot more powerful than whatever she heard from the rumors. She believes she can achieve her goals as well if she can somehow team up with him. Kusanagi understands it and questions if she is demanding his strength in exchange for her valuable information. The woman calls him correct and believes it is the perfect partnership. She moves her hand forward and requests his cooperation. He is aware that he is in dire need of some intel, but contemplates whether she is worth trusting. He guesses it's fine, as he can always just ghost her if things don't go according to plan. He agrees to it and shakes her hand as he decides to team up with the woman. She seals the deal and introduces herself as Leona. Our boy just shares that he is a Black Mage. She calls it hard and wonders why he doesn't have a shorter name. He gives the girl permission to call him whatever she wants, so she decides to go with Chrono. He agrees on Chrono. He questions why the thugs were after her. She shares that her aim was to somehow find the Black Rebellion's hideout. He calls her stupid for being so careless. She thinks they're both in the same boat, but he lets her know he can protect himself properly. She admits she has many weaknesses, but she didn't see any other choice since nobody dares to go against the Black Rebellion. Leona explains that these days the rogue mages are doing whatever they want in Kabukicho without any consequences, since the police are too busy dealing with the calamities. Kusanagi remembers that Sanada explained this earlier. He learns she is in a tough situation. Leona tries to keep herself calm and reveals her younger brother was attacked by the rogue mages. Ever since their parents died, she had to take care of her brother all by herself. She worked really hard to provide a nice life for her little brother. She's aware she couldn't offer him any time and attention, which would have probably made him lonely, but her little brother never complained about it once. She remembers one day a few burglars broke into their house out of nowhere. Unfortunately, her brother saw the criminals, so they tried to take his life. Her expression changes. He asks if her brother survived. She shares he was injured and hasn't regained consciousness ever since that day. He knows even sacred magic is not enough to wake someone up from a coma. She becomes frustrated and tells him the doctors have no idea when he might wake up. Her brother is only 9 years old. She believes he deserved a normal life. Leona remembers the guys behind all of this were Black Rebellion lackeys. She was able to find and arrest all of them, but she's not going to be satisfied until the whole gang is destroyed. He asks if her aim is just revenge, but she calls him wrong and determinedly shares that she wants to correct things so no one has to go through the same thing she did. She's aware she doesn't have the strength to do it, but she believes he can definitely stand against the Black Rebellion gang. Kusanagi guesses her story is true, but wonders if she brought the whole thing up to stop him from betraying her in the future. He calls her a tough woman for her actions but smiles, as he is into desperate women. He warns her not to drag him down, but she assures him she has already located many potential hideouts, so he shouldn't underestimate her information network. She just has too many on the list and thinks they might even be Yakuza or the Mafia. That's the reason she was trying to move forward with caution. He demands the information about the hideout locations. She asks about his plan. The boy answers he will just go pay a visit. She warns him about how dangerous it is and doubts he can avoid getting killed, even if he holds a lot of strength. He assures her it is completely fine since he is the legendary Black Mage. She decides to give him the information, but tells him she will go check with him. He warns her about the danger, but she's stuck on going even if she gets killed. He questions what her brother will do if she loses her life. She thinks it's fine, as he will get insurance money if she ever dies. He calls money worthless and advises her to never say such a thing again, as family is the most important thing. She doubts he can understand how she feels to be weak since he holds power. She frustratingly shares how horrible it is to live a good life, but still get oppressed by pathetic scums like the gang members. Even when people like her are cornered, they don't have enough power to fight back. She questions why her brother went through such a thing, even though he is completely innocent. She starts crying and goes silent. He starts moving, so she asks what he's trying to do. He demands the hideout locations and assures her the gang members are going to pay for their crimes. She stops crying and finally cheers up. She gives him the information but thinks it will be hard going everywhere on foot. He assures her not to worry about it and holds her from the back. Our boy orders her to hold on tight. She starts blushing uncontrollably. In a random building filled with gang members, a man walks toward the window out of curiosity. Another thug asks what's the issue. Suddenly, the window breaks, and Kusanagi lands inside the room with Leona in his hands. He kicks one of the thugs standing beside the window and surprises everyone. The gang of thugs gets shocked as they see one of their members get knocked down. Kusanagi wonders if this is the real Black Rebellion's hideout. Leona tries to calm herself but feels extremely anxious, as she thought she was about to die. The thugs demand answers and question who they are. They grab their weapons and get ready to kill the protagonist. He remains unfazed and observes the Yakuza haven't changed much compared to his previous life. The boss steps forward with a cigar in his hands. He questions who the protagonist is. He answers he is the Black Mage. The boss becomes enraged and orders everyone to attack the protagonist. He advises Leona to stay close. A thug attacks him with a sword, but our boy stands fearless. The thug gets shocked as his sword is sliced in half. He doesn't understand what's happening. A few more thugs approach him from behind and start shooting bullets. Kusanagi pulls out his magic barrier and deflects everything with ease. The thugs feel hopeless as they realize guns and swords are completely useless. They start calling the Black Mage a monster, but he ignores them and approaches the leader. He asks once more to confirm if the guy really is the boss. He also questions if their group has any ties to the Black Rebellion. The boss starts shaking and remains silent for a second, but then shouts at Kusanagi and insults him. He makes it clear the Black Mage won't leave unscathed. He warns the protagonist not to underestimate the Yakuza like this. The gang starts shooting and attacking again, but Kusanagi remains unfazed and calls them stubborn for not understanding. Leona thinks he shouldn't expect cooperation from such people. She doesn't understand how they're still unharmed after so many attacks. He senses none of them are real mages, so he guesses they have no ties with the Black Rebellion. Kusanagi decides to clean up the whole mess. The boss warns him he's messed with the wrong people, but our boy doesn't let him finish and moves forward to land a kick. He beats the crap out of them and sends them flying with just one kick. The Yakuza finally give up. Leona is shocked it ended so quickly. Our boy is annoyed they couldn't learn anything, so he decides to move to the next location. Leona learns how strong the Black Mage really is. She starts to believe he might be enough to destroy the Black Rebellion for good. He grabs the woman and holds her in his arms. She becomes anxious as she realizes they're about to leave again. He jumps out of the window while carrying her. She screams in fear and asks him to stop, but he continues to move forward. They reach their next destination and make a grand entry through the window once again. In mere seconds, our boy defeats the whole gang. They all bow down to him and beg for mercy. Once he's outside again, he wonders why they keep getting attacked every time. He calls the Yakuza completely stupid. She agrees with him, but clarifies no gang members will ever listen to him. Leona frustratingly requests him to stop barging in through the window every time. She thinks they're just ambushing the Yakuza at this point, but she's had enough of all the flying. He understands her and shares he didn't follow any rules since they're dealing with Yakuza. She calls him illogical, so he decides to agree with her and play by the rules this time. They both reach another location and knock on the door. A bald guy comes out and questions who they are. The boy shares he's here to learn about the Black Rebellion. The bald guy shuts the door close and orders them to get lost. Kusanagi becomes annoyed and slams open the door with just a kick. The gang members become alert and question if they're getting raided by a single man. They order him to reveal which clan he belongs to. But Kusanagi clarifies he's just here to learn more about the Black Rebellion. The bald guy loses his patience and moves forward to throw a punch. Our boy was hoping he could talk peacefully for once, but since he has no other choice left, he fights back and easily destroys the bald guy. The other gang members get surprised. Kusanagi ignores the lackeys and tries to find the boss himself. A man named Ushiro moves forward and reveals he's the boss. He questions why our boy barged in like that. He gets straight to the point and asks if they have any ties with the Black Rebellion. The boss understands his question, but his lackeys find it disrespectful and pull out their weapons to fight our boy. Ushiro orders his men to stop. They try to say something, but he makes it clear to them that they can't handle a person like Kusanagi. He decides to answer the question and reveals he has zero connections with a pathetic organization like the Black Rebellion. He clarifies that honor is very important for his clan. The protagonist asks about their hideout. Ushiro confirms if he will leave once he learns the location. Kusanagi promises he will. Leona and our boy sit face to face with Ushiro. The gang of thugs surrounds both of them. She feels anxious and wonders why she got dragged into such a situation. Ushiro introduces himself again, so Kusanagi also reveals he is Chrono. Leona introduces herself as well. The boss points towards a map and explains the Black Rebellion's hideout is somewhere around where he's pointing. He finishes the conversation and assures them he doesn't know any other details. Kusanagi checks and finds out it matches the one Leona suggested. He realizes they would have eventually found the hideout if they continued searching for it. He finally acknowledges she is a lot more reliable than he expected. The Black Mage asks the old man if he's sure about sharing such information since he belongs to the same industry. Ushiro clarifies he isn't and reveals they are actually enemies. He assures our boy his clan is not so low and pathetic as to go around harming respectable people. Kusanagi wonders why he got attacked at first, but the old man believes he doesn't look respectable since he's going around raiding Yakuza offices. Ushiro tells him his clan has rules and principles, so there's no need to compare them with scums like the Black Rebellion. Kusanagi is amazed to find a Yakuza like Ushiro in this time period. He decides to leave just as promised since he accomplished his goal already. As he's about to go out, Ushiro questions if he's aiming to face the Black Rebellion. He warns our boy that they have influential individuals who control the country on their side, so it won't be easy. Kusanagi grabs the woman and assures the old man he has faced many opponents like that. He flies away with Leona in his hands. The old man observes him from behind and praises his fearless behavior. He believes the kid might be able to take down the Black Rebellion. In a random warehouse, a few men gather to make a deal for a special weapon. One of the lackeys checks its quality and assures his boss it's good. The red-haired guy orders his men to hand over the money. Some mysterious guys in black suits take it, and one of them shakes hands with the red-haired guy as they both make a deal. The guy in the suit calls Japan amazing for being so kind to criminals, and the other guy confirms it really is the best country. As they're both laughing, Kusanagi jumps in through the window with Leona in his hands. The men get shocked, but they all pull out their magic circles and guns without wasting a second. Kusanagi realizes he has finally found the gang he was looking for. He uses magic perception and learns that all the Black Rebellion men are mages, while the Mafia party also has a few mages on its side. Leona hides behind a container and pulls out her phone to record everything. The red-haired dude questions who Kusanagi is. Our boy is tired of hearing the same thing again and again. He answers that he is the Black Mage, and he plans on destroying the Black Rebellion. The men get confused hearing his words. They start laughing uncontrollably as they doubt a kid like him can do anything all by himself. He ignores their laughter and throws a huge fire attack. Some of them get blasted away. He makes it clear that he is determined to take the whole gang down. The men become enraged and start throwing multiple magic attacks without holding back. Our boy effortlessly deflects everything with his barrier. He knows they won't try anything higher than level 2 magic, as it will destroy the warehouse. He thinks about using combative spells, but realizes it will be useless since he's dealing with a huge number of men. The lackeys are surprised to see their attacks had zero effect. The bullets end up being useless as well. They start wondering why he's still unscathed, as they have never seen such magic before. Kusanagi is disappointed. He knows he isn't even using his magic. He finds their panic funny. The guy in the suit suddenly remembers they still have that special weapon he brought earlier. They suddenly become cocky and warn our boy not to be so confident. He notices the change in their behavior. As the men begin wearing masks and pull out the special weapon, Kusanagi notices what it is and quickly orders Leona to run outside. She listens to him and leaves. The thug throws a gas bomb, but our boy uses his magic to stop it midway. It blows up and poisonous gas leaks out. The men doubt he can save himself from such a thing, no matter how strong he is. They think the game is over and feel relieved the Black Mage dropped dead. They begin moving forward to check how his dead face looks. As the smoke finally clears, they both get surprised as the boy comes out unscathed again. The gang members find it hard to believe and question how he's still alive. He explains no magic can save him from poisonous gas, but it is just gas in the end, so he can simply use his wind magic to circulate the air around him. He finds it stupid and lets them know a powerful mage like him won't fall down so easily. The men become terrified and try calling for backup, but no one picks up. Kusanagi calls it useless as he has already taken care of it. He reveals he has already destroyed all of their hideouts, so they're the only ones left. Kusanagi orders them to get ready and beats the living crap out of them. He feels satisfied after completely destroying Kabukicho's Black Rebellion, so he decides to go look for Leona. Our boy suddenly notices someone behind him. A man comes out from the shadows with Leona as his hostage. He's surprised the protagonist took care of everyone all by himself. He admits it is impressive and smiles wickedly as he shares he hopes to negotiate with the Black Mage.